Excuse me, everybody. Welcome to the November 19th meeting of the Planning Board. Our first order of business tonight is a public hearing for a change of zone request form. Is there anyone from the public here to discuss that? What that is the form is going to make it easier to document a request to change zone. It's also going to add a fee so that we recover the cost to the town of processing that request. And would anyone care to comment on that? All right, so we'll close the public hearing at 7:01. Next, first appointment is the Desrochers. Map 29, Lot 14. I understand the son is going to represent Mr. Desrocher.
Is the son here yet? Yeah, Mr. Desrocher had surgery today, so...
You want to postpone that and just move on to the next one?
or give him, I see some more people coming in, so he may be one of those.
Hey, Dave.
Yeah, here they come now.
Yeah.
You guys are up.
You're up.
Are we late?
Talk about hitting the ground running. No, we had a public hearing that lasted about 45 seconds.
Okay.
Then it was on to you guys.
Armand was not able to make it tonight. He did stop and let her know that I would be representing him tonight.
Yeah. He did let me know. Yeah.
Right.
What we did is we prepared 3 final plans in hopes to still sway you guys into letting us have less than the 10-foot required setback. And the reason, as we discussed before, was a couple reasons. If we was to move the building back further to get the 10-foot setback, it's going to push the new structure underneath the power lines. We've talked to CNP. They wasn't able to give us anything in writing yet. They wasn't able to make it to the site. There's questions on if those lines need to be relocated. If they do need to be relocated, they gave us a preliminary estimate of $4,500 to $6,000. And then we would also have to cut down 2 rather large pine trees. So, Plan A, Option A. Did you guys get the three plans?
Yes. Yes, we did.
Option A is really the plan that we would like. And as we discussed before, that would be moving the cottage. Currently, the cottage is 4 feet over the property line. We would be moving the cottage back. So the cottage itself is 2 feet past the property line, so into the property line. So we'd be moving the cottage back 6 feet. We'd be eliminating the stairs that go towards the water, which is 10 feet, and also moving it back some from the water anyway. So we'd be increasing the distance from the water by at least 10 feet, a little bit more. We'd be increasing the sideline setback by approximately 6 feet, because currently we're 4 feet over, and would be coming 2 feet in. In that case scenario, that makes it so we're 2.5 or 3 feet from the power lines, in hopes that that would allow it so we didn't have to relocate the power lines and cut down the 2 large pine trees.
Is that 2 feet from the sideline?
Correct.
That's the deck portion.
What if you remove the deck
That is,
or part of the deck?
well, that's kind of like what Plan B is.
Can I just add that we're talking about a 10-foot setback, but we're actually only talking about, I'm just taking a figure, roughly about 9 square feet of this whole entire structure that we're talking about. I mean, just one little corner. I could honestly see, I could all see your opinion, totally if we had the whole length of the building that was within that 10, under the 10 feet, but we're not. We're just talking about one little corner. But that one little corner affects the whole entire building all the way through. It affects the stairs going down. It affects, everything, the kitchen, everything.
The other side of that is that is a minimum standard that we have never gone below that I know of. And Judy's been on the planning board since the 80s on and off. So, I mean, that is an absolute minimum standard for us.
No, and I understand that, that's, you've never done that, but, and I'm not disagreeing or agreeing with you. I just feel that, by moving that away, he's actually losing the expansion. He's allowed the 30%, but he's not able to do that. He's not even, we're gonna be actually less square footage towards the water, within that setback. I mean, I'm sorry, but I feel he's given so much and he's trying so hard to please everybody in this. He's not going into it as he wants to relocate. I mean, he could renovate that camp and leave it exactly where it is and add his 30%. But he's not doing that. You know what I mean? He could leave it right there. He could leave it so that it's not even meeting a 10-foot setback. That's what
On the other side, you've got enough land that we could make you move it all the way
Yes,
back to
we
the 100
could.
feet. So that's the other way to look at
if
it.
you renovated it.
Yep. As soon as you demo it.
No, I'm not talking about
If
demo.
you renovate, you can leave it there. But I mean,
What
you
I'm
want
saying
a
is-
flip side to the token.
Yeah.
You have enough land.
Yeah.
That building could be relocated
Yeah.
further out. So I would stop your, reasoning on that right now.
You know what? He could absolutely renovate it, and add his 30%.
Do it.
But he's
Yeah,
not
no, I'm
asking.
not doing
But
that.
he's not asking for a renovation.
No,
right?
I'm just,
Do it.
I'm not trying to make anybody mad. I'm just trying to open your eyes.
We turn people
We
down all the
understand that.
time that
No,
want
that's
to go
fine.
below 10 feet.
But,
And we have to have a minimum standard, and that's it.
so what I'm understanding is there's nothing here that's gonna work except for option
Plan,
C.
Plan C, and that's what we talked about at the sidewalk, and we thought we had this all resolved.
And we did, we're just trying to, we said that we would prepare a plan with the 10 feet, which we did, which is Plan C. We just wanted to try one last ditch effort, I guess, to change your minds, but we are prepared with a Plan C, which gets both the structure of the house and the structure of the deck outside of the 10-foot setback. We are going to have to contend with the power line issue with CMP. So yes, we did submit option C, which I think met your requirements that you requested at the site walk and last meeting, which was the 10-foot house and the 10-foot deck. And it sounds like that's really what we're gonna need. I had just a few questions on that. If we get this plan approved tonight, is that footprint what we have to build? Or say it got moved around, as long as we kept the 10-foot setback, is there wiggle room, or is this it once it's approved?
I would say as long as you go no closer to the lake than the existing structure, which it appears you have.
What's that now?
Oh, we haven't gone close to the,
No, we've backed it off. Definitely.
the existing structure is
This
shown in black.
Existing structure.
Is that Plan C?
This is plan, oh, this
See,
must
that's
be.
the wrong word.
Oh,
C is the one that you guys are gonna, I think, approve.
I think if we approve it, as long as you're 10 foot from the sideline,
So if
can they
we,
work with the CEO to,
Yeah.
as far as the actual, because you have a boundary survey, is that correct?
Yes, correct.
so if we get approval tonight with the concept of Plan C, and that's pretty much what I think will end up getting built, but say we wanted to move the deck or a little something, or are we set in stone to this plan is my question.
as long as you're 10 feet from the sideline
And
and
don't go
no
any closer
to the water
Okay.
than the existing camp.
Yeah.
And do not
And don't go over the
beyond
30% and all the other
30%.
rules. Right.
And as far as the details, I think that's up to,
Yeah.
code
Okay.
enforcement.
Yeah,
Again, I didn't want to offend nobody. I really wanted to just talk
Well,
to
it's
you.
worth a try.
No, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
This is what this meeting's all about, correct?
yeah.
Exactly, yep.
I appreciate-
So we're not trying to be
No,
argumentative, we were just,
no, not whatsoever.
we were trying one last ditch effort.
Yep.
I appreciate all your time and all your efforts that
If,
you do. Sorry.
if you go on the CMP's website, they have all the clearances right there.
Okay,
So it's right on the website.
We tried to get the guy that came out in the field. from
the question is if it's a main line or a secondary line, is what the guy on the CMP told me. There's different clearances for a secondary than there is, and I'm not sure which that's classified
And
as.
I'm sure those poles aren't,
I'm guessing it's secondary, in which case I think we'll be all set. We might just have them put a rubber boot. It's a cottage, so you have kids there, and if there's, say, somebody flying a kite, I mean, so we'll probably end up, if they allow them to keep us, we'll probably boot them just for safety's sake, but that's really between us and them. But so I guess it sounds like we would like to ask for approval on option C.
One quick question.
Yep.
On option C, I'm looking at it, and on the back corner where it goes by the power line, this is a 1 foot overhang.
That's the, like the soffit of the house.
Yeah. Now, does that also 1 foot overhang out by the 10-foot setback?
That is taken into consideration. So the red,
The red line.
it's not shown that way, but yes,
would
that,
include the.
it would not, the overhang would not go over the setback.
And I'm just saying this for your own protection.
Yes,
that
Yeah.
yes,
Everything in the structure would have
yes.
to be 10
That's
feet.
not drawn that way, but yes, we understand that.
To the drip edge, and we talked about
Drip
that
edge
at
and
the
everything
site
else,
walk.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just
No,
want to make sure
it was
because
basically just drawn to show where the power line
because
was
the
going.
drawing actually shows the construction, then it shows a 1 foot overhang.
Yeah.
Yeah, we-
Heading out beyond the construction
Yeah,
line.
Yeah, we understand
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
And if you wanted to put that in the approval, I wouldn't contest that.
I'd like to make a motion that they can rebuild their camp as long as they stay 10 feet away from the sidelines, which includes the drip edge, and go no closer to the lake than the existing camp, and
Still
no
30%.
more than the 30% expansion.
I'll second that.
Blaine seconds it. Any more discussion? All in favor? Good luck with your father, too.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well,
Okay. Can I just ask one quick question? As far as the demo permit, we were kind of unsure of who we go to see to approve that, or,
Code enforcement.
Code enforcement
Yeah,
officer,
just,
yeah.
check in
She'll be
tomorrow
scared.
with Tammy.
Okay.
and I think she can set you up with that.
okay, thank you.
Thanks
Thank
a
you very
lot.
much for your time.
Good night. Next appointment is Rebecca and Richard Doucette. Howdy. So on this, we did a site walk. The question at the time was, is the garage considered in the 30% expansion? And Tim Nelson said, yes, it is, that it's based on the square footage of the floor. And he also said that to move that garage downhill and attach it to the house, one, we couldn't give a permit for it to move closer to the lake within 100 feet. And two, that would be a change of use. So just to bring everybody up to date, some people may not know that. But
Okay. And I got your email yesterday from Tammy. And I guess if I want to do what I like to do, I'd have to detach the garage and I guess put the garage at the 100-foot setback from the lake.
that's one of the options.
Yeah. So how do I address this? I would like to propose, like, build my house as is and agree to put the garage at a 100-foot setback.
That's one option. I mean, we could just talk about the house tonight and then come back about the garage. I mean, because that, as far, that the plan was just for the house.
Okay.
You think that would be like a separate plan to come back in on the garage? I think it would. It would keep things a lot simpler for you and for us.
But as far as the garage, will I ever be able to come within that 100 feet to the water?
Personally, I don't see how you could move any closer to the water than that 100 feet. What Tim Nelson tells me is that we cannot allow that.
Okay.
We can move people away, help them go up and change, but we can't allow someone to move closer to the lake.
The other thing is too, is you're looking at making that garage bigger, so that would be part of the 30% expansion.
As long as it's attached to the house. Right, because I took 30% on the house and 30% as well on the garage.
Okay. If
And,
the garage stays outside the 100 feet, then you don't have to worry about the 30% on that.
Okay. So is there any ways like because I'm gonna have a contractor there, can I have a contractor do both at the same time? Or do I have to come in here and ask to have a garage done after the house is completed?
Well, I think your plan called for attaching the garage to the house. I think either need to come back in with an amended plan to show the new location for the garage, or like I said tonight, you could leave the garage out of this, get approval for the house, and come back in on a separate plan with the garage. So,
If the garage is beyond 100, oh, because you don't need setback, okay, never mind, I'm sorry.
Right, I'm within, garage is not even within the 100. But if I would just go in and just like move it to the 100-foot mark, that may be
Because it's right at the 100-foot right now.
correct. The old garage is at the 100-foot, and actually what you're asking me to do is move the new garage in the same location, but I'd like to move it a little bit more onto a different side.
is this something you were thinking of starting this season?
Next season,
All right.
not this winter, no.
Because I mean, what we're going to approve is the plan that you've given us,
Okay.
which is really no longer valid. So I mean, if you could come back with a plan that shows a freestanding house with your garage in the location that you wanted, then we would be approving what it is you actually want to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To get that basically, you're asking us to approve this,
Right.
and this is not what you're gonna do.
And if I submit another one, which I just hand scratched one on, does that make it legality of having approved, or do I have to go back and,
The proposed building on here is based on the 30%, including the garage.
Yeah.
So your proposed building would be smaller now because it's based off of just the house. Your garage, if it's set back at the 100, beyond the 100 foot, doesn't meet front setbacks. So you'd need an exception to reduce your setback. So I mean, it's almost like two projects, even though you probably could execute them at the same time, it's two projects for the planning board's purposes. One's basically shoreline, one's basically, it's not a setback reduction, it's a reduction in setbacks in order to make that compliant. So, but I mean also, the only thing we could do tonight is approve a 30% expansion of the existing building.
okay?
As a freestanding house.
It's a freestanding house.
But that doesn't document your plans for the garage.
Okay.
That gives you the go-ahead on the house.
So I would have to come back and actually come back and propose for a garage build.
Yes.
Okay.
And the question is, if you're going to not execute them at the same time, and the existing garage where it is, can you get equipment in there to build the house? So I mean, you almost have to have the garage moved to get in to do your construction work.
Well, that's what's one of the plans, yes.
I didn't go on sidewalks. But the garage is, I guess it's what
It's a single car garage with a shed type roof on the
about
side.
30 feet from the front line right now.
So it would be quite an expansion to go up to 24 by 28.
Because I took it as the square footage and the lean-to and the square footage of the existing garage, and that's how I came up with the numbers of the 30% increase.
You can actually expand, if the garage stays out the 100 feet, you can expand it as much as you want to fill the lot. It's once it's outside that 100 feet. But the house, anything inside the shoreline is 30%.
It's 30%, which I understand from the email and as well as this meeting here. So what you're telling me is that if I get proof of the house tonight, I just got to come back and get proof to build a garage.
Correct.
Yeah, because you're going to have setback issues.
That's one way to do it, or come back with an amended plan that covers both. Can we do that both under one application? That's kind of apples and oranges.
Yeah, no, that's what I was thinking. It's
Yeah.
like,
It really should be separate applications, I think.
So I guess I have to hopefully present this without the garage for this evening, get that going, and I'll come back with another plan to build a garage. It's not the right way to do it. I've never been through this, so.
yeah, 'cause, it's two separate things. One is an expansion that we're looking at is, can you move it further back? Can you make it more compliant? that's one side of it, and the other side would be the garage, which would be, you can't build your garage on your lot because your lot is, done before zoning. You couldn't have that lot today, I guess.
No, you're right, it's non-conforming, I understand.
So it's two totally separate, things. We could handle it in one meeting, it'd just be it would take two motions to pass it through.
Yeah, I think you'd just like to go ahead and move forward on the building and walk out of here with something.
I would like to have the house and the garage, yes. I'm willing to detach the garage, yes. I'm agreeing to that. And I was hoping to just have both pieces authorized so I could have it constructed all at the same time.
It's a long process, as you know. So
But
you want,
Not without,
We could, like you said, we could do the building tonight because that's what was presented to us, the house. I mean, we can make a decision on the house tonight, and just, basically ignore the garage. Part of the motion that somebody would make, either for or against it, would say that the garage, excluding the garage as shown, and then you could run the risk then of saying, if this was thumbs up, thumbs down, that you'd have at least a decision on that part, and then you're still going to need the decision on the other part. So I mean, it's still going to be two steps. Just you might be able to get one step tonight and one step in the future.
But how far in the future do I have to be?
As soon as you can come back with
as soon as you
show
have a
tomorrow.
plan.
So I put another application tomorrow? or-
Throw it, if you could,
yeah, we just need to see. I mean, it needs to show.
where you want to put it for.
Yeah, we need to see. Yeah, it's not just. I want.
So if I separate like I did here on this sheet, that could suffice? I just moved it up and just scratched it all out, and I said, yeah.
Add some whiteout would help. Yeah.
I agree to detach the garage. I just want to move forward that way. I could have it all done all at one time. And
We do need accurate paperwork to show it's approved.
Yeah, this is going to go on
so
file
what
for a
am I
long
going
time.
to need? Just like you said, white out. Is that what I need? And just resubmit it?
Tom?
May I make a suggestion? I would think that, Mr. Doucette, you'd benefit by coming back before the board with a bundled package, piggybacking the two at the same time. There'd be two separate votes. So then you'd have a clean plan and show the garage detached, what the dimensions of the garage are, and then process each of these applications separately, but piggyback them in the same night. So you'd still walk away with the same. You wouldn't really lose any time. It's just that you'd lose sleep tonight knowing that you didn't get one of them approved. So you'd come in for two approvals on the same evening.
May I ask you, would you like us to vote on just your house, no garage tonight?
But you don't have a plan that shows that.
See, that's the
No,
thing.
try one back to
Now,
that.
does the garage fall
I was
under
gonna agree to that,
30%
yes.
too?
Yeah.
No, because it's outside the 100-foot.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
you were just going to be doing a reduction.
For consistency's sake,
Yeah.
it's
It
good
should
for the
show
board
what
to,
it
You need to
because
know
this is what
the
you would
setbacks
typically ask of
that
all
you-
applicants,
Yeah.
is for consistency, to have the new plan reflecting the detached garage. And then on the agenda, we could do it in December, as soon as you could get the plan, within a couple weeks, it could be scheduled.
I think it's the what, you coming in tomorrow and they do a white out and just resubmit it and say this is.
We just
what-
would need the dimensions. Where is that garage going to be sitting on your lot? If you stay parallels, it's still 17 feet. You're cutting to that tree line, so it's probably a little bit more off of the.
Oh, it'll be off, actually, if I,
You don't have a north arrow.
When the code officer goes out to get ready to issue the certificate of occupancy, he'll want to check those measurements. And so it's good to have a drawing that defines the new measurements on
Yeah.
a clean plan,
I agree with Tom.
and to include the garage. It just means two separate votes to the board, because it's two separate issues.
And where you're not planning on breaking ground this year, I mean, it seems like we have time to do that.
okay. So if I come up to the next meeting, as long as I show a break between the two, I can possibly get them
Right.
authorized.
Show your new
Another plan
location
like
for the
this,
garage.
yeah, with your new game plan.
Because as your garage moves up forward, you're going to lose your front setback.
Yes, I am.
Your side setback is actually going to increase from what you propose here, unless you take down that row of trees. So I mean, those dimensions are critical for us of where it's going to sit, and that's That's what we're asking for, I guess, is,
Because we have to reduce the setback.
yes. And we need to know where it is, and the abutters need to know where it's gonna be sitting.
Yeah. So I'll have to put out new letters to the butters saying there's a change in plans and.
I think it's more of a revision of your original.
This is what would be considered a very minor alteration to the plan. So traditionally, you don't have to re-advertise on that because it's so minor of a change.
And we also have a letter from an abutter, and that addresses their major concern was the location of the garage, so.
Well, I definitely won't encroach the 10-foot side limit. If anything, that's 17 foot, it's probably gonna be, 20 feet by the time it's set it back.
Yeah, that's what, look, I mean, as those tree line grows away.
Yes,
Unless
it's
you
a
plan on taking that tree.
non-conforming lot, so it's gotta happen.
Do we have space on the next agenda for them to come back in again?
Okay.
All right,
Well, you're a regular.
When's the next agenda? The next one's
They
not.
say strike out, we fall forward.
It would be the 3rd or the 10th.
Hopefully, so
It'll be the 3rd or the
I like to put this
10th.
behind me so I can move on.
Mr.
Thanks for-
Doucette, I'll notify you later on in the meeting if they're gonna determine what date in December is gonna be the next meeting, so I will notify you.
Okay. We're up. Thank you.
thanks for bearing with us.
Oh, we're up for the third.
Next appointment is John and Donna Martel. That's also something we did a site walk on. On that site walk, we met with an abutter, Mike Allen, talked to him quite a bit about his concerns about drainage and the reclaim that had been put in front of the garage. And I know Steve had a couple of solutions with Andy on that. Is that going to be incorporated at all, you think, that the drain between the two properties?
We certainly can suggest that to builders here, just to bring that down, the grade down. I don't think it'd have to be brought down much more than a half a foot.
That's the reclaim, you mean?
Yeah, the reclaimed material.
And as far as the drainage, trench between them and the Mike?
I think he already dug one.
Really?
Well, if, by removing that reclaimed material, if there needs to be a course for drainage, then yeah, that will be done. But I'm quite sure that the position of the proposed garage wants, the Martels want to leave it where we've got it designed.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you actually shot grades out there to see whose garage or what elevations are actually out there?
I haven't, but I certainly could do that. I mean, I don't, from standing there, it doesn't look like the garage is higher. Now,
It doesn't appear to me either that the
No,
garage is
it
higher.
doesn't. I mean, if we can certainly do that, and we can make sure that everything, after the garage is built, and we can talk about lowering the slab just a little bit, a half a foot, so that you make a smooth transition into the garage, and then take that elevation and slope it back toward Hush Puppy Lane
So
and
would
down.
it be
the hill.
safe to say that you would be in agreement to build your garage with the interior slab of your garage 6 inches below his existing garage? Would that be a safe?
Well, there is no existing garage.
He has.
He's talking
his
about
garage
Mr. Allen's garage.
I certainly, yes.
Because it appears to me that you're actually lower than that already.
Yeah.
I
quite
think we
frankly.
are, yes.
Right, and that would resolve the issue about draining your water onto his property.
Correct.
I talked to Tim Nelson, he did a foundation inspection for me, and I had a chance to meet with him on that inspection on a project that I was doing, and I questioned him about this application and about the fact of the reclaimed fill being there and what's allowed in shoreline zone and stuff. And he told me that, yeah, you shouldn't be filling into a shoreline zone, but there's a difference between filling in and actually maintaining a driveway. So one is allowed to actually bring in material to maintain a driveway surface, And that may include changing the elevation somewhat, because you can't maintain a driveway without changing some kind of elevation. So he says it'd be a very fine line as to what, when you're actually breaking the filling area of a shoreline zone and just maintaining a shoreline zone. He said if it were to be that a project were to be, that we would not be able to hold a permit based on the fact that he was filling in the shoreline zone, especially if the project were to encompass that area that was filled already. So he said that, what he told me is that if we were to rule that the garage would be approved, subject to the reclaim being there already, that it would be incidental to construction of the garage. And that there was nothing that he knew of in our ordinances, and there's nothing that I could find in our ordinances to say that filling in above and abutter is against any kind of rule. It's kind of like a common courtesy that you wouldn't want to drain your property, your water onto another person's property, but it's not a written rule in our ordinance, nor is it a written rule in the state ordinance that he knows of. So that's the information that I got from talking to Tim Nelson. So based on that, I would agree to approve the expansion of the garage, or the garage as drawn, as long as the finished slab elevation is 6 inches below the finished slab elevation of Mr. Allen's garage.
Is that a motion?
That is a motion.
Second?
I'll second that.
Judy seconds it. Any further discussion? All in favor?
I'm just going to abstain from, I don't know if I can legally abstain. I just didn't go to the sidewalk, so I'm missing the information you guys have.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty tight quarters up there, like on a lot of the campus.
Everybody's filled,
They're very tight.
including Mr. Allen.
Okay.
And that was a complaint about the last applicant, was a drainage. It's something you hear quite a bit.
And it's very relevant that when you look at the piece of property, there, the home itself and where the garage is probably 30 feet above the lake. So the downward gradient, the water ain't going sideways, the water's going down towards the lake. So the garage being 12 feet, not 10 feet, but 12 feet from the edge of the property, it's definitely all going down towards the lake. It's the flat area out front that is an issue, where it's kind of flattened, but it seems like it's still leaning towards the lake. I would have liked to see elevations, quite frankly, but I feel comfortable that the grade is actually there. And if you're going 6 inches below, you can't be saying that you're dumping near water. You're right onto
And I
that.
think the reason that the reclaim was put there was for footing, was it not? Because of ice that would build up on that.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so now that they don't have to, go down, well, they'll still have stairs there, but they'll have a safe entry in their garage, and then being connected to the house, I don't think, certainly they aren't gonna have a problem with us grading that down a little bit, so.
Yeah.
We can take that reclaim and push it out of the shoreline zone, push it down onto that
Use it on
slope.
the road.
Use it on the road.
Yeah.
And just grade
Or
it,
infill for the garage. That garage is going to be heavily filled inside.
or fill for the garage.
Yeah.
So either way, it's approved. Good luck with it.
Great, thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, Amy,
Yes.
can you repeat your motion? Because it
The
was a
motion is that
suggestion.
it be built as drawn on the plan, but the interior slab of Martel's garage must be 6 inches below the elevation of Mr. Allen's garage.
To the finish top.
Yeah. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Steve. Thanks, folks. Next appointment is Katy, Mann. You were looking to rezone or do some kind of change that would allow you to have horses
Yes.
on your land. Just bring everybody up to date.
Yes, I wanted to rezone AR, but that one abutter was not able to comply by that. They didn't like that it was, had junkyards and also gravel pits. But also, I looked into that. It's conditional use. That's what the gravel pit and stuff is. It's a conditional use. But anyways, so we'll move on. Then we did the contract zoning. We tried that. Tom got it all done, and I'll let him go from there.
Okay. Well, first I want to thank the applicant for being very patient with the process, because what the applicant is proposing is consistent with both the old comprehensive plan and the new comprehensive plan. Our dilemma becomes in the construct of the zoning ordinance, people who have large acreages of land that want to use agricultural uses cannot in a residential zone. And so we're here, and I thought about this a lot. I think we've gone full circle. The contract zoning, first let me address that. We looked at that as an alternative. Never been practiced before in the town of Waterboro, but as one of the board members said, this is a novel way of approaching situations like this. I think the dilemma became when we got our legal opinion from our town council that the process is very lengthy, complicated, and extremely expensive. Now, traditionally, the applicant would bore those costs, and the cost of doing this contract zoning for having a couple horses would be an economic hardship in the case of this particular applicant. So I thought long and hard and tried to come up with a solution, because that's what we planners as a group do best. And I come full circle, and the simplest solution that would benefit both the town, still be respectful of the ordinance, assist the applicant, and maintain the consistency in the comprehensive plan about wanting to maintain our ruralness, would be to look at this as a conditional use. However, it's not a conditional use in the ordinance. In fact, our chairman posed that question at several meetings on several different cases. Can we consider it conditional use? Because we know the conditional use ordinance gives the board to look at every single applicant on a case-by-case basis. So you can attach whatever conditions you need to. You can examine the size of the acreage, the location, the closeness of the abutters, the density of the residential that surrounds it. So you have all those factors that you can analyze in the conditional use. Just like we do in the campground proposal. You go through every single detail and then some. In this particular case, when I look at the ordinance in section 3.05, the residential district, and then I go to the conditional uses, it has a variety of uses that are allowed to include cell towers, daycare facilities, and the sort, but it does not address any type of agrarian use. If the board wanted to have a discussion around this with the applicant about the possibility of having a specific, for lack of a better word, horses or livestock, and you may want to debate the both, because in some ordinances they define any type of animal falling in that livestock category. In this case, the applicant's asking for about horses. The solution, if the board found it acceptable, would be to make a change to subsection 3.0502 that would allow this use as a conditional use. And then the applicant would have to start the process over again, and the board would review it under whatever standards or conditions you wish to attach under the conditional use provisions in the zoning ordinance. That would solve the problem. And Katy and I have just talked about it very briefly. I said this is something that really needs to be a board discussion, discussing the pros and cons of doing it. But it's the only solution that I can find that will work in this particular case and any other cases with people who wish to have animals in the residential zone.
What was that zoning, 3 point what?
3.0502.
You need a copy?
Yes.
The other thing is 207, temporary uses. Change the definition of temporary uses.
That could be another approach. You could consider a temporary use, and temporary would be fine to run the life of the applicant on the property. When the applicant left that property, then the use would disappear.
Yeah.
So that's another possibility. What I like about in your ordinance for the conditional uses, which is in Section 4 is that it gives you a lot of latitude on a case-by-case basis to attach conditions that the applicant has to comply with. At the same time, in a conditional use, you don't have to approve it. You can modify or deny an application too. And what the real benefit of this too is that it's not driven by just one applicant on one piece of property. Across the entire residential zone, an applicant can come before you as a conditional use if they have X amount of acres. I would suggest that one of the conditions should be a minimum amount of acreage. And by attaching a minimum amount of acreage, it just makes sense. Horses need ground to roam on, right? It's not like having a cage or except the little Icelandic ones. But
I'm just wondering how it's like 9 times out of 10 we work with the applicants to help them get what they want. But, in this case at the sidewalk, at the public hearing, there was a lot of neighbors and abutters that were not happy with this plan. And I'm just kind of thinking from their point of view how this would be received. But I guess we won't know until we find out.
I think what happens a lot in the review of these kind of applications is the anticipation of a person starting with a couple of horses and then turning it becomes a big equestrian stables, it becomes traffic.
As I recall, that was what their concern was. They didn't have much problem if we put limitations on it, but they were worried if we just
The
opened it wide
concerns
open,
were the
where it
junkyard.
could go.
Junkyard.
Or excessive animals.
The other parts of
anything-
the zoning.
Anything bigger than the
Across the
intent.
street as they are, and there's horses right across the street from them.
No, as I recall, that's what it was. They were worried about it getting bigger than the intent.
That's right, Dwayne. Some were concerned about a major gravel pit, some were
Right.
There's a
concerned
stream
about...
down back
Right.
there.
Yeah.
Which
I
there's-
would really be concerned there's any possibility of creating a situation like we have on Roberts Ridge Road, where you have, that was already there. But remember the people came in who lived right across from Dolbeck's, and that's a terrible situation, but it was there and there's nothing you can do about it. But I would be terribly upset to think that we would create the possibility of this happening again.
The only way that you can protect the interests of the town and the board's decision is to put conditions on this and any other applications. That's your only protection mechanism.
What's Betty Lane zoned as? Is it AR?
I think it's AR, yeah, different zone than this
Because
one
those
here.
people had horses
Yeah.
on a postage stamp size lot.
You see, the dilemma here also becomes that the history of this parcel has always been agrarian. It's always been agricultural. When you overlay that zoning in comparison to the history of the site being, or the tract being agricultural for, I don't know how many years, was it Shaw's that?
Before Shaw's Ridge, there was cows, and then Shaw's Ridge bought it and put cows on there, and then Joe Martin bought it, and he had sheep and cows and horses on it until the 90s.
Is that when they split it?
That's when he sold off, he split the land. The house that is down on Martin Circle was originally there when he built it. And he sold off 2 parcels, and one of them we own.
So that's why it shifted.
So 207 doesn't cover that for now, would that would have to be
Because it's
changed?
30 days, with 2
Yeah.
extensions, but
Yes.
There's no one that's been more vocal on this than probably myself. And that's because I don't believe in rezoning any particular lot in a zone for any particular purpose, whether it be for cows or horses or people or anything. If you have a zone, you have a zone. And I feel the same way about contract zoning. However, that being said, when I look at the prospect of putting it level, equal for everybody, not just favoring one applicant or this applicant, but putting it on equal ground for everybody, that we're going to make conditional use for an entire zone, I feel that might be an appropriate way to handle this without going through contract zoning, without setting a precedent. Put it out to the public and ask the public if they want to change the conditional uses in the residential zone to allow horses as long as there's not more than one horse per every 5 acres or something,
Yeah,
or some kind of
acreage.
restriction like that. And I think that's a reasonable thing to present to the town. And like I say, I've been a real advocate against trying to rezone anything. But if we're rezoning it and we're putting it on an equal playing field for everybody in that zone and not one particular applicant, that changes my viewpoint. And I think that is a fair way. And if those people will have a right to come to a public hearing and express their views, whether they favor it or they don't favor it in that zone. Gotta keep in mind, this is a residential zone, and we're now gonna be allowing horses in a residential zone. My instinct tells me they don't mix, but again, if you have 20 acres in a residential zone and someone has 2 or 3 horses, does it really hurt anything?
Right.
Probably not. If they have 50 pigs, maybe that's a different situation. You know, so I'm trying to work with the applicant. And like I say, me and the applicant have not seen eye to eye on this in the past, but I think this was a pretty good position to bring in. It's not bringing contract zoning, not making a special case, but making it equal for everybody on that playing field. Everybody in the residential zone can decide if they want that change in their zone or not. And if they do, everybody in that zone can do this for horses only if they have a certain amount of acreage. And I think there's no harm to the town in bringing that up. This ordinance is pretty old. It's 20, 30 years old. Times change. That zone, when I look at that zone was set out to be a residential zone. And in reality, it has not really been attractive to residential housing. I don't know what the reason is, but whatever people saw 20 years ago, they thought that area was going to be a big residential area, and they zoned it for residential. There's actually more residential housing in the AR zone than there are in the residential zone.
Large zone.
So based on that, when I add all this stuff in together, I'm saying to myself, maybe that's a way we can handle this that gives the applicant a fair chance, even though she knew that it wasn't allowed horses there when she bought the property. It gives her a chance to get what she needs, and it's not unreasonable to the other people that live in that zone, and they can express their concern at a public hearing as long as it's publicized properly.
I think the idea of having it as a conditional use, like you know, I guess it'd be a lot different if you were changing the zone to be primary use. But with a conditional use, we can sunset clause it and everything else.
We're on the same page.
The neighbors get to weigh in. And
Additionally, you can put performance standards on it. For that defined use, you can say, let's just call it horses, or on a minimum of 10 acres. Now, your surrounding communities, and Katy did some research on some surrounding communities. I took a look at a couple different communities, and probably the classic one is Lyman. Lyman establishes in its residential district the allowance for farming and having horses and actually all livestock, but the lot size in their performance standards is only 3 acres.
Oh, is it 3? I thought they were all 5
Now,
acres.
I would suggest, because we've got sort of a very scattered residential development to protect the interests of those houses that are there, that it'd be a minimum of 10 acres as your starting point. Now, one of the interesting things that Lyman did is they had a graduated formula. If someone wanted, you could have up to 2 animals for the first 3 acres, but if you had more than 3 acres or 3 more acres, you could have 2 more animals. So they've actually defined it in their
Animals or horses?
They just define it as animals.
Livestock.
So
But it's 2 animals per 3 acres.
they call them domesticated farm animals
Okay.
versus
So
non-domesticated.
does that mean like a pot-bellied
They're
pig is
not
okay,
out
but
fending for themselves.
like a feed pig isn't?
It means wild boars aren't allowed, but domestic pigs are.
If you have to go out there and feed them, they're domesticated.
llamas.
But the reason I share that with you is that a lot of our sister communities have run into the same issue, and because residential developments have been so scattered, but yet there's still large tracts of land. In this case, how many acres, Katy, you have?
26.
26 acres. You got a 26-acre lot. Next, just down the street, you got a condominium development. You know, so.
I
Brings
think
back to
that
the chicken ordinance.
just outside the box, a situation came up in Limerick, and the guy was zoned for his animals, but they were really close to the property line. And somebody came in and, granted, they were already there, but somebody came in and built a house and started complaining. So maybe we gotta look at this, where on this property, because, I mean, you know, you wanna run your animals right up the property line. If somebody's already got a house.
It's, the property line
Oh,
is,
where it wasn't specifically mentioned yours, I was talking in general, if we're gonna go in this direction, should we make some consideration for the neighbors?
Well, Dwayne's point is well taken, and again, I think that's why it fits best in the conditional use category, because you look at each one on a case-by-case basis. Okay,
That's good.
here you're looking at 23 acres. In another case, it might be 10 with a different configuration. It might be a big rat tail lot,
But it's
okay?
equal to everybody. It's
So-
equal to everybody.
Yeah, so this way it's equal to everybody who comes in. They have to first defend what they want to you. And your job is to defend what the proper conditions are.
So what would the proper process be at this point to move this applicant along?
I think
Well-
we would set the standards, have a public hearing, and move it on to the selectmen.
Well, there's a series of steps. The first step would be to make sure there's consensus on your board. Does the majority of the board think the conditional use is the right way to go?
How do you feel about it, Lee?
I'm a little behind on this. I was always pick meetings, so.
All right, so,
What it sounds like, she bought a piece of property, she wants to run some horses on it. I don't know where your property is.
Federal Street, right off behind the high school.
right
I
about
know Federal Street is.
across from the dog park, just about.
Yeah,
Oh, down there.
yeah.
Big piece of land. Not to put you on the spot, I just
Oh,
want to make
no.
sure we got your opinion.
It's okay if you do. You want to run a few horses, we're not talking 50 horses.
No,
We're talking
no.
Three, four?
Yeah, 3 or 4.
3 or 4
At
on 20
4
acre
at the
piece of
most.
land. And your neighbors don't like this idea?
Well, there was one abutter that I wanted to change it to AR. And AR is in the ordinance that you can have a gravel pit or a junkyard.
Junkyard.
And he says he's lived there all his life, since he was a kid. And he didn't want to see dump trucks going in and out of there and have it ruin that land.
You're putting horses, you're not putting gravel pit.
Well, if we sold the land.
Oh,
Right,
oh,
Yeah,
oh.
but that was-
If you change the zone,
Right,
it would open up
correct.
this use for everybody in the zone. That's the thing.
But what Tom is talking about is really an elegant solution, I think.
It's
Just like Andy says,
I
it's,
agree.
It works, I think it works for everybody.
Yeah, it's a
So
good idea.
to finish, what would be the steps before you get your
Right.
consensus? After you got your consensus, and let's say the board was in favor of exploring conditional use, then you'd want, and you could just delegate it to me, to write up a little sentence that you could work over that would be that number 11 in conditional uses. And then the proper thing would be is to bring that to a public hearing, because you're making a change to the zoning ordinance. The applicant can process their application based on that, but you'd want to then, when you review that, set standards, performance standards. In this case, the applicant says that she will not put more than 4 horses on 23 acres. So that would be one of the conditions, so that no one could come in and create a big horse stable or anything else.
So would it be appropriate for me to make a motion? Then would it be approved by the board to get consensus,
to move ahead with it.
to move ahead and have you
Work
draw
up.
language that would address the issue?
What I'd do is work up a couple alternative languages that the board may want to tweak a word here or a word there. And maybe even build in a proviso that would set a base acreage of 10
Yes.
acres. If the
I
board's,
wouldn't vote unless there was some kind
A
of
minimum.
minimum acreage.
Yeah, it has to be a minimum acreage, because you can't just throw horses on a 1 acre lot or a 2 acre lot.
I mean, you can
It's a
create,
residential area.
you can create a conditional use listing with a clause that sets a minimum acreage, and that becomes your baseline, your benchmark, and you start from there.
And I like what Lyman did, limiting the number of animals also per acre.
Yeah.
Per what number of acres. And you could do the same with your acreage. You could, but I could work out a little graduated formula if that's what the board wants.
All right, so we have a motion by Andy to do just that. Do you have a second?
I'll second that.
Judy seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor? It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Good work.
That's
Good
the
work,
first
Katy
step,
and Tom.
Katy. Still got a lot of steps to go.
Our next appointment is with Gary Lamb. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
And this is for a discussion of changes, updating the site plan review ordinance.
Well, thank you to the chair and the board for putting me on the agenda here. As I get into my second year here, still trying to learn about processes and communication and everything else. I had my nose in the site plan review ordinance and just noticed a couple of things, and I wanted the board to consider whether or not you wanted to make some changes to make communication a little better, to make sure that you folks have the information that you need to make a well-informed decision. And you've got a copy of the site plan review ordinance in front of you, I think. I just went through and took the highlighter to this. It starts out in page 2, which is under procedure. The town planner and the CEO are called out there to be the point people, if you will. I guess my take here is that we're missing a public works director in the process here and in the information flow, and maybe also a peer review engineer, although at the tail end of the site plan review ordinance, there's provisions in there where you can pull in any peer review engineer or any professional that you need to. But I don't have a whole lot to say, I guess, here on page 2. Really, the bulk of my comments are over on page 4 in the section F, where if you've got the highlighted one, I highlighted a couple of paragraphs there. In section F, it reads the town planner, CEO, and fire chief. Those are all great, but I think we need to, we should consider adding the public works director and then maybe the words or designees. The fire chief is out fighting a fire or whatever else, if the public works director is indisposed, they ought to be able to send somebody else instead of themselves for this process. And maybe you ought to consider giving this group a name. Staff review committee, site plan review committee, and you call it whatever you want. I really don't care. But I think those people, and maybe others, maybe in certain situations you need that peer review engineer working for the town to be part of that as well on an as needed basis. Those comments need to be captured in writing and then funneled back up to the board. That group could initially meet by themselves without the applicant or the applicant's engineer to have a very frank discussion, and then very soon after meet with the applicant or their engineer, and then get those comments down on paper, those concerns, and then those would be passed on through Tom or wherever else, however you want to structure this, to come up to the board. Going down to...
Say that again.
Say everything
No.
again?
The part where you meet without the applicant?
A lot of times, staff will meet initially with that set of initial plans and go through a checklist. You have a fairly extensive checklist that Tom has that uses. And then staff could talk amongst themselves about their concerns, and then very soon after that, meet with the applicant. You can start right off meeting with the applicant if that's what you prefer. I don't really think that's a problem.
I think what the board's been having an issue with, is that there's no transparency to the board of what's happening behind the scenes. We're finding that what happens in these meetings, the board isn't even aware of.
Right.
Doesn't
There's meetings
get to
happening,
us.
there's site meetings happening where there's discussions about what's gonna happen on the project, and we're not even aware of what's happening till the applicant actually comes in that day. There's no paper trail, there's no nothing, right? And a lot of what's being recommended or being told to the applicant is not conveyed to the board in writing by anybody, right? And I think that's one of the big issues that the board has had with the process, right? There's other issues, but that's one of the bigger issues is that, and one of the things that I had told Tom is that maybe a member of the board ought to start attending the site plan review meetings and just sit, even if it's not part of the committee to review it, just sit in that chair and listen to what's happening. Because I think there's a lot of conversation happening with the applicant that may or may not be relevant to what the board's position really is, or what the ordinance is. There's been, and I'm going to carefully say this, there's been representations made that aren't really in the ordinance, that an applicant would have to follow in order to be approved by the board. And the applicant is thinking that in his mind, that he has to agree to these in order to be approved, when in reality it's not true.
What piqued my interest is Tim communicating with me, and I think with all of you, saying that meetings were going on, I think the words were outside of the ordinance. Well, I got my nose in here, and you were right, the Public Works Director is not mentioned in here
Exactly.
as a contact person. He doesn't have any
Quite frankly,
directions.
he's a big one. We've approved the Dollar General store, but
Right.
he has not approved the road opening permit yet. It's for some reason he's stonewalling what the planning board's approved. We've approved the plan and we approved the entrance. And he will not give them, or up to now, has not given them a road opening permit. And, you know, we're trying to be a pro-development community, and we're trying to be active in that, and then we have a person that's representing the town that is like, meeting with the applicant. We don't know what's going on. I have no clue why a road opening permit has not been presented to the Dollar General store. The last I heard, it had something to do with the headlights shining into the window of the farmhouse across the street, which there's nothing in our ordinance. So we have no paperwork presented to us as to what the issue is about that driveway entrance.
So what came?
And we could have reviewed that and looked at it more seriously had we known in writing what had happened. But we have no clue. And so now we have an applicant that's approved, but his approval, he can't really get a building permit until he gets a driveway opening permit, which he can't get because Mr. Foglio won't give it to him.
So did you get what you think you should get from the fire chief and the public works director?
No, we don't get anything.
No, let me finish. Did you get information from fire chief and public works director through Tom and Tammy coming up to you in a memo?
We had an original on Dollar General.
Fire chief.
We had original documentation from the fire chief.
But nothing.
Got nothing from Mr. Foglio whatsoever.
And then also the fire chief changed his opinion.
Was that on the campground or was that on the Dollar General? It was on the campground, he changed his position.
Tom did tell us that all of that was still pending. After 7 weeks on an application that we'd only seen once because I insisted on seeing them. After 7 weeks, things were still pending and they weren't happy. And it's, you know, I think it would be stupid not to involve Doug and Matt and Tom and peer review, like you're saying. My problem is when they're going out into the community and meeting directly with the applicants. I think that all needs to be channeled through either Tom or the planning board and to cut out these individual meetings.
There's been a long history in Waterboro that a certain individual can meet with a certain applicant, period, just kind of like a quiet session. I'm not going to go to a sidewalk, I'm not going to go to a public hearing. I'm going to do it alone, by myself, with the applicant. And I'm going to convey to that applicant what I want.
Let's hear
This has
from
been
Tom.
happening over and over again in Waterboro.
Tom.
It should stop.
Gary and I have had a brief discussion about this, and I think Gary has come up with a solution to one of the two dilemmas. In looking through the checklist, the site plan review checklist, on the third page, it's very defined that there must be letters, and there's a little tick box. Water district, remember that came up once?
Yeah.
We wanted to make sure we always got a letter from the water district on a site plan review. Myself, I've been fairly faithful in trying to get a memo to you or with the things that I see that are going astray or need improvement. There's one box missing that Gary said we should improve our checklist. Correct me if I'm wrong, Gary. Create a box there that says letter from the DPW director. And that way you'll have a paper trail, fire chief, planner, water district, DPW. But this is just on the documentation part. The communication part is a separate issue that you need to talk about.
And I would say that is fine, as long as you put a deadline.
We need a timeline.
Because what they do is they stonewall you and they blindside you the night of the meeting. The applicant finds out that somebody has an issue the day he walks into the meeting, because it's been emailed to everybody on the board, and the applicant walks into the meeting and he has no clue that all of a sudden they get this letter that broke up.
Have you seen anything from the Public Works Department on why they won't give that driveway opening?
I've seen anything.
Anything?
In writing, no.
Not really,
Thank you.
Kurt, did you have something?
I was just saying.
That's exactly what we're talking about here.
There's a bigger problem.
What's the bigger problem?
The bigger problem is I just want to make sure that you folks are getting the information you need to make an informed decision. But from what I've been told, both the fire chief and the public works director had serious concerns about the flow of traffic around that
And
building.
it took them 7 weeks to communicate that?
Well,
But I guess
What, is it any different than a Roman Joe's or anything else we've done in this town?
I guess one of the, we probably shouldn't be talking about that without the applicant here, But in that case, the applicant came in with an engineered drawing showing a 53-foot tractor trailer truck being able to do a 3-point turn in that parking lot. And none of these people that had concerns were at that meeting. So we saw information that a 53-foot tractor trailer truck can turn around that parking lot, and our 40-foot fire engine can't make it in and out. Maybe those guys need to go to school. You know what I mean? It's pretty sad. We have an engineered drawing saying that a tractor trailer truck can make a delivery and be out of there in 20 minutes.
Of 1,000 stores that they've built on that plan.
Yeah, and so that's the information that was presented to us, and nobody, the people that now have concerns, didn't even bother to come to a meeting. You know, so it's like, I guess my biggest frustration on it is, it goes back to almost like a bully mentality. That these guys, they have a position of power in their heads, and they're town employees. They are nothing more than a town employee. And what you suggested tonight is exactly what we need. It says within 5 days they have to meet. So then within 6 days, we should have a written report. And that's all we're asking for is the idea that these guys can, whether they don't have the ability to write it or they don't want to write it, I'm not sure which. But they can't be, it needs to be in the public. It needs to be in the open up. And the thing is, if it's oral, it can be recommunicated differently. If it's written down, we have a written record of what it is. And what Andy said, if that was a concern, we would have spent more than, I think we spent like 5 minutes looking at it because it was a stack of paper that thick talking about moving traffic through that parking lot.
And a whole traffic study done.
So there was it wasn't a concern to us because it was nailed down 15 times.
It was a polished plan.
I think I'd be more concerned with the traffic out here at the middle school, where they're parking cars, and they're worried about North Waterboro. Come on.
I guess that goes to my point in that we don't have an engineer sitting here right now. And you don't need one every night at planning board in Waterboro, I grant you. But maybe more often when these things come up, and when the campground comes up, I'm thinking that you're really going to need a peer review engineer to check the stormwater calcs, to actually have an engineer with boots on the ground doing inspections during that. I mean, that's part of what we should be doing for due diligence.
Could I just say something here? I know you have a very high opinion of Tim Nelson. I think you should talk to him about that application because we can't discuss it in public about the campground. Because I did, but he wasn't on the record, and I don't want to put words in his mouth. But you should get a third opinion and talk to him about it.
Let's pull it back from the specific of those applications if we can. I think shame on me and the rest of the staff here that we didn't have the fire chief and Doug at your meeting where this was approved.
Actually,
it was announced.
And there's an information process that we don't have here now to get them there. They should have been there.
But all we're asking for is a written report of what they discussed.
I understand.
And a timeline.
And the bottom line is that is advisory, that they don't have veto power over an application.
That's true.
And I think that a 7-week delay, personally, I think that they were doing that to stonewall to get concessions out of that applicant. And these people were playing chess while we're playing checkers. They've done that 1,000 times. And they just waited. And they got their approval. And I think they should have had their approval.
I mean, this company that came in with Dollar General, they're an independent corporation that what they do for a living is build Dollar General stores and they lease them back. So I forget what he said it was to us, the 1,600 application they present to the United States. So these people are not, they come in, they know what the ordinance calls for, and they come in and they're prepared. Right, and they know what the standards are, and they know what towns will typically accept and what they won't. And they're probably not going to put their best foot forward, but they'll put some foot forward and they'll try to negotiate something in between. And that is fine and dandy, but like when we heard from Dollar General saying that he could back a 43-foot truck or a 63-foot truck in at a 3-point hinge, and then we hear from our fire chief that he can't get his fire engine around the building, it kind of like, because I've been around a little bit. I've been to San Francisco. I've been to Old Port in Portland, which is an old community. But if somebody wanted to put an expansion on Market Street, on the Old Port, and Market Street, I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but I imagine you probably are. Market Street is a 25-foot wide, 50-foot wide street with sidewalks on both sides and cars on both sides. And when you drive your own personal vehicle through, you got to look on both sides because you don't want to hit the mirrors on the other cars. That's how tight it is. And if Portland wanted to put an expansion of 5 stories to 6 stories on a building, they would not shoot it down because the fire chief said it's not safe. But in Waterboro, they're saying that something like the Dollar General isn't safe. So I'm kind of looking at this saying, the logic doesn't make sense to me. Why can this fire chief say, oh, yeah, I can protect that, whereas our fire chief says he can't?
Well, was there any discussion about having somebody else run a turning radius for the concerns that Matt had?
It wasn't, I guess the thing on it, it was, I mean, anybody that's driven a tractor trailer before, I mean, you look at it and you're going, oh my God. It wasn't like he was scraping the corner to make that turn. He had like 15 feet to the corner. It wasn't, so it's like, my son could back a trailer.
I think what we really got to do here is address it the way it really is. It doesn't matter what the project is, it matters who you are, who you know, and who you're in with. That's what
well, I think what you need to do is to solve this issue by adding a few things into it that can take care of that.
Those people were always involved. We've always involved the road commissioner, the fire chief, everybody. We have people come off the streets that pour over our plans and talk to Tammy about things that they see. And that's fine, and we want that. But we don't want direct contact with the applicant, and anything they give us is advisory.
All the turning radiuses in Aroma Joe's are tighter than Dollar General. And there was no issue with Aroma Joe. But for some reason, there's an issue with Dollar General. I don't know why. So there's no consistency in the standard.
I guess one of the things, Gary, is that we do go to peer review. We use peer review quite a bit, especially when there's areas that look, that are like boundary lines. We're really close to, parts per million at a property line, or the applicant comes to us and they're sort of like, yeah, I think it works. So we've definitely done peer review, and we use peer review a lot, whether we go through SMM, whatever that thing is. Yeah, or like one of our engineering firms. So we do it a lot. In the case of the 2 applicants that we had in the last 6 months, commercial applications that came to us, they came to us with our engineer. One of them had one of our engineers. So like if we went to peer review, we would just be picking the second engineer on our list. So it's
that's fine.
In the fact that I guess when you look at it is all the engineers that come to you, they're stamped. So they're staking their license on it. And it's sort of like a lawyer. I could get another opinion that would differ from that. But that engineer that stamped that drawing, his license is up. If he cheated to make that number work, he'd risk his license. And none of the firms that we see and hear all the time are willing to do that. Sebago's not going to.
Very seldom I've ever seen a peer review come up with anything substantially different than what was originally done.
And it's partially because there's only 4 or 5 of them, and somebody will peer review them next. And it's
only 4 or 5 what?
Of the big engineering companies, Wright Pierce, Sebago. We could go to a lot. There's a lot of.
Plenty of PEs around.
There's plenty of PEs around. But then the fact we're going. All right, now I got John Smith, PE, reviewing this drawing that Sebago or Wright Pierce or somebody did, and my gut, I'm an engineer, my gut reaction would be, the guys that do it all the time, I think would know a lot more than some guy that, a PE is a PE. You passed your license, the state of Maine says you're a PE. Once that happens, you're not...
Don't you think we need to protect the town though, make sure...
Oh, I agree 100%, but it's when do you go... The planning board definitely does it. We do peer review a lot. We send things out a lot for peer review. So it's not like we don't do it. It's just that, and there's the other side of it going, when something's presented to us that's pretty substantial...
the person from DEP that's reviewing the campground lives in Waterboro. And probably
in that case,
has a direct interest in the lake, and that's probably why the application has taken so wicked long. It's been a long, long process to get from DEP.
And I think in that case, that's why we didn't go for soils with an independent, because it automatically was up in the DEP.
And the watershed is totally coming away from the lake, and I don't want to talk about a particular applicant, but that's the reality of that. And to me, a peer review is just a stall tactic.
It's a case by case thing.
It's not even close to being an issue for the lake.
All the work the town does on its roads, does it get engineers? Do we have engineering print on all the work that goes on in this town? we're asking these applicants to get engineered. Well, actually they do something that we're not. If we can do it by eye,
Well, I don't think you should be doing stormwater calcs and everything by eye. You need to have another set of eyes looking at that because you have a lake out here that's at risk on DEP's list. You don't want extra nitrates and phosphates going into that lake.
does that include work done by the town on town properties and town roads? Do we have engineering guidelines?
You can't compare redoing a road with a campground, stormwater on a
I'm talking in
campground.
general.
No, we don't have an engineer do it. It's not necessary.
But I think it's the same thing, Gary, I think the same thing you're saying right now is the same, just a different shoe on us looking back at you. You know, when we get these things, they come to us, I mean, a couple of us on the board do this for a living.
Mm-hmm.
So you look at the numbers, you're going, oh my God, we're in Adam soil. You can't make water travel across Adam soil. So why would I go out for another peer review on it? You know, with Colton soils and all these other ones that are in here.
I could see if it was close.
Yeah.
It was heading that direction, but it's not even leaving the property
But
line, heading in the opposite direction.
I guess
It's not even close to being an issue.
I guess I'm saying, you know, like, some things like that, the whole purpose of this board is to protect the town. That's the only reason we're here.
The water.
And, you know, the interests of the town. And so I think the fact, yes, we will do these peer reviews when it makes sense.
Well, can we pull it back and talk about
The ordinance?
making it better?
It's a pitch session now.
I was going to segue into what Gary just said. How do we make it better?
Make it transparent.
Like all of us here, we like to go home at night knowing that we accomplished a couple things. So here's a couple there's a couple quick fixes here. One was Gary suggested that we change the checklist to incorporate the DPW director having and submitting a letter before it even comes to the planning board. So that letter has to be prepared. So when I do my letter, the chief does his letter, the water district, we secure their letter. You get a bundle of letters.
Is there a timeline?
As part of your review.
Is there a timeline?
Where do they get their information from?
Well, first of all, we got to do the checklist to guarantee that you get a letter from the DPW director.
But I don't want them going out and meeting with the applicant to get that information.
Okay, we're going to get to that point. What I'm trying to do is to break it into little pieces.
I think your idea, Tom, is right. Yeah, follow the checklist. Put everything in writing. There's a check. Now we have a box that says fire chief, DPW, planner.
That shows accountability of the staff people to you, because you have the final say. Okay, so that's a pretty easy fix. The next thing is that we've talked about is should we have a representative from the board on the site plan review committee? Other communities have done that. I would suggest that if you do that, that person's an ex officio attendee, because you have two voting powers then. And I think it's best to keep, if you're a planning board member, keep your voting power at the planning board level, which is the last stop. But
We
yet,
need two voting powers. Where's the other voting power?
well,
Voting power at the
at the
committee
site plan
and
review
also
committee.
at the planning
But
board.
there doesn't have to be voting there. It can just be gathering of concerns and information.
True, but what we try to do is give a consensus vote, if you will, to the applicant that we feel technically this application is ready to go to the planning board, okay? In the case, Gary, of
Any
Waterboro,
applicant should be able to go to the planning board at any point in time that they want to go to a planning board.
well, on site plan
So
review,
I have an issue where an applicant has to go to site plan review and is being denied.
well, we
You
don't,
can't do that.
the site plan,
Can't do what?
They can't, I mean, this group of staff can't deny them to come to you.
You're not ready to go to the board. Until you agree to this, you're not ready to go to the board. Don't tell me you can't do that.
They might
because
say
I've
that, but
done
it still
it.
comes to you folks.
Why don't we let Tom finish, please?
the purpose of the site plan review is to do technical review, provide input and assist the applicant, and then get the package ready to submit to the board. I've been told over the years by the board, when you send us a complete package, okay? There were times in my earlier part of the career with Waterboro that the application may not have been totally up to snuff, okay, because other staff people may not have submitted their review. In this case, we try to be pretty consistent, and I think when we looked at Silco, we looked at Aroma Joe's, we looked at Napa, I recollect that the board says, good, the application's in a good order for us to review. So if we could have a planning board member as an ex officio there, It becomes another layer of transparency, one. Two, we can always do report backs vis-a-vis the planning board member or myself to the full planning board if it's run into a snag. Snags can be a lot of different things. It could be requiring a DEP review. It's the very reason that on the campground, I've been advocating that you don't grant approval to the campground until DEP defines its conditions. When you have that in hand, you're going to have some assurity on stormwater and all other things that the state has looked at. And just to bring you up to date, and I don't mean to diverge, but it hasn't been approved by the DEP, and it doesn't look like it will be in the next couple of weeks.
Which is exactly how it's supposed to work.
Which is the way it's supposed to be, and it means that they're giving it a very thorough review. So you can achieve those two things. Those are two very simple ordinance changes. The communication thing for expanding the transparency is something that really has to come from our administration, saying to staff people, prepare the letters, be at the meetings, and make it mandatory for staff to be at a meeting and to prepare letters and give it to the people who have the voting power.
Or don't squawk.
Our staff, we're purely advisory. All we can do is offer advice. You, by state statute, are empowered to vote. You're the only ones that are empowered to vote. And just to clear it up, we don't vote in the formal sense. What we do is we take sort of a consensus, is everybody okay with the traffic flow, drainage, signage, and we go through our own little pretty comprehensive list.
But if we give a final approval to a
Yes.
plan, that's it, right?
That's it.
Well, how can they stop it?
Who is they?
Well,
We have
I
no-
understand that there has not
No
been
driveway entrance to Dollar
driveway
General.
entrance.
Talking about that, okay.
I mean, how can you do that?
I
That
have to
should-
follow up with a question. Do you mind if I ask you a question? Why do you not want the applicant to meet with Tom?
We do.
Because of what happened. No, I want them to meet
Yeah.
with Tom. I don't
We all
want
want
the
them to meet with
DPW or the fire chief going out individually
Okay.
and meeting directly with the
But
applicant.
you're okay with meeting with this group of whatever it
No,
becomes?
yes.
Most definitely. The more expertise, the better. I think I'm on
And I think a
board with
planning board
that.
member should be there.
That's fine.
Right, to observe, but no, I think that's what delayed Dollar General was, this kind of stonewalling of individuals going out and more or less saying, if you don't make these changes, you're not going back before the board. And we saw them, like I said, once, and I think that was 5 weeks into their app,
And I'll
because
bring-
we
I'll bring
insisted
a more
on seeing it.
active- A more active application is, tonight, we have Carpenter Estate coming back to us. Right? Now, Carpenter's Estate had come here for a subdivision review earlier, and it was going fairly well in front of the board. And then unbeknownst to the board, there was a meeting with the road commissioner and the applicant at the site, and we got all this secondhand information, nothing directly from the road commissioner, but all this information that we needed to have the stormwater thing, and we need to get an engineer, we need to do this, and it was for a 4-lot subdivision, and we're all kind of standing here kind of confused, and the applicant doesn't know where they stand, because there was no communication between that meeting, that we didn't even know was going on, and it was just between the applicant and the road review. It's like, and the road commissioners, how did this meeting even come back? So we're kind of looking at it as a board and saying, we have meetings going on that we don't even know what the results of the meeting are till the applicant comes in front of us. And it's almost embarrassing for us.
Well, I think that's easy to fix.
Yeah, it
Well,
should be.
I think that what you're talking about is building the site plan review committee. We talked about that last year. There were changes that we wanted to make the site plan, and we came up to the edge and we never completed them, like a sunset clause and a limit to, someone can't come in every year and build an 800 square foot building, come back next year and build another 800 foot. So to me, this all kind of goes together. I mean, we need to go back.
Sunset being how long an approval?
Well,
takes?
we have building permits out there that are 25 years old that they've never completed.
Gary, there's huge subdivisions
Yeah.
that have been grandfathered that are 20 to 30 years old.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're sitting
Well, that's
there.
different, subdivision.
Yeah,
once
but
a
we're talking about
subdivision-
site plan too, but, because we don't have it in the present plan, we don't have the sunset clause.
Well, it's like, the classic example is the storage bins by Patco that have been approved. That could sit out there for decades and just freeze the site. And as everyone knows, that the next higher use became Dollar General, and It was on the market all of a
And
sudden.
the standards changed, the road standards change, and they would be entitled to build under the standards they
So
were.
we don't have a sunset now
For site plan review. That's a good point.
I don't want to keep you any longer than necessary.
No, I appreciate you coming down,
I think our biggest thing is we just want transparency, we want written records.
Absolutely.
and I don't want
I
direct
want to get back to
contact.
what Judy's statement was about if we're final approval, why is these projects not getting done?
We'll give Gary a chance to look into it.
Please,
Well-
thank you, Gary.
I was disappointed to hear that neither the fire chief nor the public works director knew this was going to final approval in one of your early November meetings, I guess, so we need to fix that information.
Well, I mean, it was posted,
I don't doubt that.
you know,
But
just like
my
our
statement still
regular
stands, and
agenda.
that made me
but-
unhappy, so.
Yeah, well, I was kind of surprised not to see him here myself.
Thank you for coming,
Can I
Gary.
ask another question that
Yeah.
doesn't have to do with this, but we did changes to section 2.08. What happened to that? It
That's
just-
later down in the ordinance, and I can
Did it-
speak about that and not take a whole lot of time, because
Was
Did it
that
just-
verbal?
57 foreclosures and a variety of other things that kept me buried. I had an initial discussion with Natalie, and we just need some more time and to get that finished. I don't have it ready tonight.
I thought it was going to Maine Municipal. Are we getting a second opinion from Maine Municipal?
They wouldn't do it.
They wouldn't do it.
There's some things that they wouldn't do, they say, you need to talk to your town attorney.
Well, I
So
thought that's what we
why-
did. I'm
Why is
sorry.
Natalie's position to us?
I thought
changed?
Natalie,
Natalie's,
Gave us-
Natalie already gave us a position.
Yes.
That she felt we didn't have the power to do this, and it wasn't.
We're the only town in the
She couldn't
state.
defend the position.
oh, I'm sorry, we're talking about 208,
Yeah.
CBA versus planning board.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I was on the other issue.
Change of zone request.
no, yeah.
It was the issue that Doug brought up about the non-conforming lots from way back when. Oh, no, that's.
It's the same
That
thing,
is
yeah.
what it is.
But it's a different aspect of it. Going way back to those pre-existing lots before zoning and trying to preserve their rights, if you will. Natalie's email back to me, she said, I don't understand the question. And so.
Well, I listened to him talk that night, and I had to leave a trail of breadcrumbs going into his conversation because he lost me. But, I mean, I'm looking at the old minutes, and I see Doug's name in 1969 for the first time he was before the planning board, so, I mean, he knows the history.
The issue that we're having with 208 is that if you have to appear in front of the zoning board of appeals, there's a state law, there's state requirement that if you want to get a zoning setback, you have to follow a certain criteria. There's a certain criteria.
Yep.
By going through the planning board, Waterboro has circumvented all that criteria, because now they're saying you can come in front of the planning board instead of the zoning board of appeals, and you can bypass all the state laws. And we, the town of Waterboro, has empowered you to make these decisions. And Natalie told us, that's not right, you can't do that, you don't have the power to do that.
That aspect of her answer hasn't changed.
Okay.
I can tell you
And
that.
that's where we stand, is where do we stand as a town if we're actually playing with people's property rights and saying, yes, you can do that, or no, you can't do that, but we don't really have the power to do that. So we're asking everybody, how do we justify that to ourselves? Because our attorney is saying, I cannot defend that position for you. And yet, the town is telling us, keep granting those variances and keep denying those variances, even though you don't have the power to do it.
I don't
So
want to keep saying that.
it's like, where do we stand with
It is
that?
actually, 208 is written, there's not even a minimum, like we've always talked about 10 feet as our line.
It's not in there.
It's not in there, it
That's
just
our
says,
standard.
There's no state standard to back us up.
yeah.
And so I'm
Is
really
it in there?
confused as to
I
where
think
we're
they
getting
keep
this
both
power
Is it in
to
there?
deny or approve
Zoning
someone's
Board of
property
Appeals?
rights.
Is that what
No.
it
We
is?
have no state authority to do
Somewhere
it.
there was
And our
a-
own town attorney is
I
telling
remember
us,
something saying we could go to 10 feet.
10
We
feet
can't
as
defend you.
long, but there has to be 20 feet between buildings, and I
can't find it, it's not in here.
We
And
need to,
we've
we need
always
to hold
done
it to
that.
one conversation,
Yes.
please. For the sake of
But
future,
anyway,
future minutes.
let's get with it.
so that's what we're looking for.
I'll get with it.
Yeah, you did.
Thank you, Gary.
Hard to get good help.
Thanks for coming down. Okay, Fran, thanks for being so patient.
We've given
I don't
us
know
something
about
we
this
can't
property, so
defend.
Give
I'll put
it
you in front of it.
No problem.
Some of this may have been informative,
I'm gonna butter.
some may not.
The last time I was before you was in January, so it's been a while. We had a sidewalk scheduled at one point, and we had a major snowstorm. We never got back to you. There was a few issues at the 15th meeting. One was the stormwater management plan that's already been mentioned tonight. I've made a formal submission of the stormwater plan to Tammy to discuss that with you at a meeting, and we'd like to have the engineer here, and so hopefully she will schedule that. In that package, there's a plan that still shows the 4 lots on the north side of Clark's Bridge Road. One of the other issues at the meeting on the 15th was spaghetti lots, and we weren't sure where we stood with that. We found out that, in fact, because we had shore frontage by state definition, that spaghetti lots are in fact not permitted. So we met and have kind of proceeded with caution. We met with a couple of land trusts. We met with Three Rivers Land Trust. We had a meeting with the Waterboro Land Trust. There were some negotiations, and they weren't able to come up with a plan. So the plan that I submitted to Tammy tonight shows all of the rear property going with 2 of the lots, which would conform with the shore frontage to depth ratio. At 5:30, I was sitting at the office reading the news, and the phone rang, and it was Scott Carpenter. And he had some good news. He had talked with the chair of the Waterboro Land Trust, and they are going to begin talking again about accepting the rear acreage. So we'd like to get wheels back under the project, review the stormwater management plan and the plan that I submitted to Tammy tonight, knowing that it's likely that the rear acreage will not be part of the subdivision. But if we could move forward, I would appreciate it, and I know the Carpenters would as well.
So you're starting with a new plan. That plan may still change,
Well,
but
we still have the 4 lots on the north side of Clark's Bridge Road that look similar. The difference is that what you're going to see is 2 of the lots have all the back acreage. That's if things work out with the Waterboro Land Trust, then they will get the rear acreage.
If I may interject here, is that intention to go fee simple with the land trust?
I believe so.
If it's fee simple, sorry, Fran, the board should not proceed until you know it's fee simple, because it's going to, 1, affect the configuration of the lots. And so those dimensional changes won't have a physical impact, but they'll have a dimensional design impact.
Right.
And so that's number 1. Number 2, given the circumstances, the board needs also to make a decision if you're proceeding ahead in the preliminary stage. If in the preliminary stage, Fran and I have begun to go through a checklist, there's still some minor deficiencies and things that need to be clarified. Again, before I submit this to you as a preliminary plan, I would like to have another thorough review of the checklist with some of those things that we talked about that need some remedies. The fact that this is going to the land trust changes the context of the subdivision. It needs to be reflected on the preliminary plan.
Well,
But I think the board needs to make a decision tonight so Fran can walk away from here knowing that you're still at the preliminary stage, not the sketch plan.
I'm not even sure if we're at the preliminary stage.
Well,
This was a 6-lot subdivision at one point, wasn't it?
I think, in March, I believe the estate's attorney sent a letter to the chairman of the planning board withdrawing the property on the south side of the road, because really it's a separate parcel. But one of the conundrums that we have is the stormwater management plan needs to be reviewed and needs to have the approval of the board, even to move on in the preliminary process. So at a minimum, we'd like to get back before the board to present the stormwater management plan.
Now, is that whether you do a deed to the land trust or not?
It's not going to affect it because it's all up front. And if we would like to get the site.
So what changes by putting it into the land trust?
They're not spaghetti, they were spaghetti lots, the way they were.
Spaghetti lots.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And if you sold it all as one big lot, then it wouldn't be a spaghetti lot. So you have the option of doing the land trust or not
Right,
doing the land trust.
and as I said, that Scott got a call late this afternoon, and then he called me. So they're talking again, but I think what we need to do is proceed with the submission that I made today, with the stormwater management plan.
And
I
the
think-
sidewalk, which is kind of urgent.
Because if one of the things that was on the checklist that Tom and I had gone over before was some easement language. But I don't want to put the cart before the horse and get easement language put together if the board, if the stormwater management plan isn't acceptable. I guess that's where.
If the board wants to do this piecemeal, you'll have to let Fran and I know that you want to do it piecemeal. This is not traditionally the way that you review a subdivision. You like to look at the whole thing, the whole checklist for preliminary. Given the fact that part of this holdup has in fact been the land trust, because this is the second visit to the land trust, for purposes of clarity, so that everybody's being open about why it got stuck. It got stuck because the land trust wanted to place a large stewardship fee on it. The applicant was reluctant to pay that stewardship fee. Now, unless the total stewardship fee, which none of us in this room know, has been dropped, it could turn out a month or two from now that it's still an issue. I would like to see that rectified, because that's a huge parcel going to the land trust.
I would want to know why we want to take taxable property and put it in an untaxable. You put it in the land trust. Waterboro no longer get. What is Waterboro gaining?
Well, it was kind of wetlands too, a little bit, wasn't it?
I mean, it's like,
Some of it was
it's
wetland.
not like it's a valuable piece of property to Waterboro, I don't believe. I mean, I don't know, it's not like it's on the corner of 202 and
No, it's like
205,
wetland.
or somewhere you're gonna build a park or something.
Well, the knoll out back is gorgeous.
It's a piece of wetland in the middle of nowhere that's gonna be taken off tax rolls for the land trust, and how does that benefit the town? And does planning board or the public have anything to say about just taking, you know, the town, I don't know if they do.
Members of the board,
It's in the land
Mr.
trust
Chair,
and
the way to keep forward motion on this, and I think we really need to bring this to forward motion because it just has been out there for so long, is that if you wish to break it into a couple pieces, one being, invite the land trust here to your meeting, because they should be here talking to you, telling you what it is that they're planning to do with that land, number one. Two, we can proceed ahead as Fran has requested, if you wish to do it piecemeal, to get that stormwater component
Who runs the land trust?
Mr. Foglio and I forget-
Todd Abbott's vice chairman.
and Mr. Abbott. Yeah.
Diane's the secretary.
Can we hear from Kurt for a second, please?
I guess I'm struggling with, I think this just goes back to sketch plan. I don't want to do it piecemeal. I think this is a whole new application. This starts all over again at sketch plan. I don't think this is ready for preliminary. I mean, that's what I'm struggling with right now. I think this is
It was a
a
6-lot subdivision back to a 4-lot subdivision.
This is
They
a whole
actually
new
sold
application.
out- They sold out the other, it should have actually come to us in 2 plans originally, because it was 2 separate lots of record on 2 separate sides of the road, if I understand correctly, right?
Yes.
And I think originally it came to us as 1 plan, but in reality, it should have been separated into 2 subdivisions, because one side of the road has nothing to do with the other. They're both lots of record for more than 5 years. So I can sympathize with the applicant that, yeah, they didn't need any kind of planning board approval to separate what they had on the other side of the road. Because it was a lot of record for more than 5 years. They can carve off a lot and sell the remaining piece, which they probably did. But now they started with a 6-lot subdivision. They've sold off part of that subdivision, which changes the entire plan, which I come with you, Kurt, is it a new subdivision plan or is it a preliminary
Well,
plan?
I think essentially we've scaled it back to 4 lots, the four lots on the north side of the road. You know, we've come a long way. I've made a submission for, you know, some I think some substantial information that was requested in January based on the Highway Commissioner's request, the email that came through.
And what was
Mr.
that? For
Lane.
clarity, because the board has not received anything from.
Well,
from
we were
the-
given an email that came through Mr. Lamb at the meeting of the 15th requesting, you know, that certain criteria be met. I think it was addressed to the board,
I don't think so,
I
but,
don't believe it.
and that was for the stormwater plan?
But
Yes.
the
Yeah.
lots are not
It
the
was something to
same
do,
as
something
they
to do
were.
about drainage
It
out
was for
front
the, it was for the
and an
stormwater.
easement through the lots.
Fran,
Yeah.
how, was it an email or a letter?
It was.
Who
it
wrote
was-
the letter?
It was an email that,
I guess it goes back to my original thing. Those are flat lots, so culverting them is useless.
I think there was a letter, I think there was something mentioned at one point, and this is where part of the ruckus started, about one hand not knowing what the other hand is doing. But there was a meeting down there, saying that we had to have some kind of drainage easement through there, and we ought to have an engineer look at a drainage easement for a 4-lot subdivision. And the board was discussing whether or not that was really needed, or if it wasn't needed, to put a drainage down there, because the nearest wetland was 200 and some odd feet from the roadway.
That was my argument, that it's illegal, because you're basically asking the applicant to provide something
That's right.
that benefits the town, that we have no ordinance, we have no way to enforce it. So it's an illegal, it's like, it's ransom, we're holding this town illegal. It's like having Hanford buy a ladder truck for us to get their building permit. That was our thing on that what was being asked is unreasonable.
I think it was something about draining the road.
Who's that letter from?
Yeah.
pardon?
That letter.
I think it's from
I think
Gary,
the
but it's from
planning- I
last
think that
January.
the planning board,
huge run.
if you look at a
That's-
Walmart or
That's what
anything,
prompted the,
they have to do infrastructure changes to get their projects through. So if a subdivision is going to impact the drainage, I think the subdivision has to address how they impact the drainage. But if they're just going to do drainage for the town period, and their project isn't impacting it, then it's a different story. So the question comes in is the drainage from this subdivision going towards the road and impacting that drainage, that the applicant has to do it, and we didn't have enough information because we weren't in that loop, which hence was part of the problem.
But those lots all slope. That was my
Away from the
argument.
road.
That it was to drain the road. It wasn't to drain the subdivision, and that's why
Yes.
It's basically an illegal request by the town.
so at the meeting on the 15th, we had 4 waiver requests. One was for the stormwater management plan, and as a result of the email and the concerns of the Public Works Director, the request for the waiver on the stormwater management plan was tabled, and we were left with the impression that we needed to get that done. And so that was tabled. The topo, we were told we only had the topo within 500 feet of the
Yep,
road.
I
So of
remember
course
that.
we had to do the topo to do the stormwater management plan. So that got done. And we asked for a waiver of the hydrogeologic assessment. That was waived on the 15th. And then the other waiver request that was tabled was the soil erosion and sediment control, because it kind of goes hand in hand with the stormwater management plan.
Now, has your actual plot plan changed, or are you still working off the original?
It's changed.
The only
because of
change,
backlots.
well, again, we had the spaghetti lot issue.
But I mean, what she shows is that the original plan that's it
So,
was.
so really, the change is really, we were gonna have 4 lots. And what we did is we made 2 lots so that we would have the proper frontage along the brook. I don't know if you remember, we had the
Yeah, it
building
was like
lots.
you made like 2 big P's to get.
Right, it's a lot depth to shore frontage ratio in that lot.
Fine.
So you just made like 2 half lollipops that you
Pretty
can grab.
much, yeah, right. So we took out 2 lines. Still have these 4 lots on this side of the road, took out 2 lines, so that, and then we have the stormwater management plan, and we've added some info. I don't want to talk about that because really the engineer should be here to answer questions.
Yep.
And that was kind of,
After you?
I think we're jumping around a lot, and it's causing confusion to what, it's a relatively simple application. 2 things need to happen tonight. I'm under the impression from what I hear, correct me if I'm wrong, Fran, that no one knows if this is fee simple or a dedicated piece of land or a reserved piece of land to the trust. or if there's stewardship fees. I'm not sure we know the answers to any of those questions.
Well,
Do we?
I'm fairly confident that there's
They were
been
confident.
that there's a general agreement to accept the land without stewardship fees.
Okay.
And-
As fee simple.
And that there'd be a fee simple conveyance, but, you know, we're kind of on a parallel track here because this, you know, this offer came
think
so
that's Fran's.
late in the
Thanks.
game tonight that,
The fact that it's come late in the game tonight should
And I
cause the
had a-
board
I had a-
caution to know all the specifics. If it's fee simple, you're going to need to have a deed of that property. It's also going to need administrative approval by the Board of Selectmen for the acceptance. There's just a lot of details. There's also going to need to involve those that are involved with the Trails Association, because if it does go to the land trust, you know, there's be a need for that extra layer of involving snowmobile and ATV club, because these are unanswered questions that need to be addressed in this as a
well,
subdivision.
and as I say, you
So-
know, I put together a package unbeknownst to any of us, you know, that this call was going to come and
Well, I think it puts the board in a very difficult place to I think the best thing the board can do tonight is determine if you're going to proceed as a preliminary plan, or given the anticipated changes that we don't know the answers to yet, if this is going back to sketch. The board really should help the applicant determine what stage they're at currently, so they can proceed. If the board, for example, determines that this will remain at preliminary stage where it currently is, then we can proceed in getting the proper stormwater management review done, in that the stormwater management plan has been done. It's just that the board hasn't seen it.
I think for clarity, what should happen is the applicant should come back in front of the board with sketch plan the same night they bring in preliminary plan. And we can approve a sketch plan just for procedural purposes, just to clarify that they started back from square one and proceed from approving the sketch plan from a 6-lot subdivision to a 4-lot subdivision with the changes. And just as a technicality, just approve that, you know, if the board's in agreement.
good idea.
And then proceed on to the preliminary plan the same night.
Same night.
That way there's no confusion that it hasn't gone through the proper process correctly.
okay.
So if that's in agreement with the other board members.
And
I think
review the
that's way I think we
stormwater
should
and have your
proceed.
engineer here the same night.
Okay. And how about a site walk?
I was just gonna say, do we need everything laid out for us to go look at it, just to see the lay of the land, or?
Yeah, it's pretty, I mean, it's a pretty easy lot to, I mean, you can do a drive-by sidewalk.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to, we're all supposed to go out there and have.
Right, yeah.
actual site plan.
But I mean, I don't know about staking. I mean, the only question I got about staking it is, I have a huge issue with what Doug's requesting on there. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see where the lots are divided off.
It's staked out. I might have to freshen things up, but when we did the topo this summer, we refreshened up all the front corners, and the stormwater plan is done. And so it's really just a matter of, you know, when we get to that point, you're reviewing it. I mean, it's, you know, whether you want to accept it or say that it's not necessary. I mean, that'll be up to you.
I struggle.
I think Gary had something, if I could just interrupt.
I guess I just had a question, maybe Fran, you can answer it from what Kurt said. These are 2 or 3 simple drainage easements to take water out back to make sure that they aren't filled in and they continue to carry water to the woods. So I guess I don't understand why you think that's illegal.
Because the town is taking land
No, we
from,
aren't.
yes, you're asking for, it's making it a condition of approval
Yeah.
that there's an easement granted through it. And when you go to that site, there's no reason for that, what it is. It's like, to me, it's just, there's no reason for those to even be there. They don't, that land is existing now. We've never had them there. There's not an issue. There's no washouts. And all of a sudden, now we have to have this drainage easement that goes almost 100 feet back, stone lined. It's like, there's no reason for it. And this goes right back to, I guess my argument is, if Doug wants it, I want to see an engineer's report saying that we have to have that.
That's fair.
Because you're taking land the town's taking land from a property owner.
Well, I think there is a rationale for having the drainage easements, because if we sell the lots.
The lots slope away from, Gary, the lots slope away from the road.
They're undeveloped now, Kurt. We can change greatly with development.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's just.
Well, I think the best thing to do is, at this point, is, like I said, the stormwater management plan is done, and when we get, to a point where we can come back with the sketch and the preliminary.
And the engineer.
And the engineer.
And have him talk about it.
And have him present it. I think that what Gary's saying is the rationale, is because, we're gonna sell the lots individually. The estate isn't gonna develop the lots, they're gonna sell them individually, undeveloped. So what the easements will do is ensure that people don't come in and completely block the natural drainage. I think that's the concern.
But I think there was ditching involved.
There was, your original plan, there was 100-foot gravel line.
And I guess my question would be, I find there's so much close-knit relations between certain things. We get the land trust and someone that believes firmly in the land trust, and he's also the road commissioner that wants certain things here, and now the subdivision is giving land to a land trust that is promoted by a certain individual, but he also has the power to regulate what that person can do. And where did that conflict of interest come in, where you have a person that's in the position of power for the town that is running a land trust, and all of a sudden I have an application coming in front of me that's saying, well, we've changed, and we're going to change this like this, and because our land is going to the land trust now. And I'm just suspect of how this all came to be, that we're taking a piece of land that was on the tax payroll, and now it's going to a pet project of the town, a land trust, and that person who's handling that land trust is also the road commissioner who is demanding certain items from the applicant. Isn't there a conflict of interest somehow in all of this? It just doesn't seem to be like it all fits together neat and clean. There should be some kind of separation of powers there.
What confounds me, representing the Carpenter estate, is how do I get before you folks and get this reviewed?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, I'm being told I've got to do this and I've got to do that.
Which we're not aware of.
And I know that you're the voting power, about how do I get here?
I think
with something more than a sketch plan.
I think what Andy said is we come in, we do sketch plan, we just get it up to date. So everything's legal. We've dotted all the checklists done. We sign off and we move right to preliminary. But right now, I think I'm sitting here frustrated and mad as can be, and it's something that's probably not even on a drawing. So I think it's an entirely new application.
So come in front of us with a sketch. I would say, and I think we're in agreement on the board, come in front of us with a sketch plan. Odds are we're going to slam dunk that sketch plan. And say, because you've already been here, we know about what's going on. But bring it up to speed, because in my mind, it is a new application. You were talking 2 separate parcels with 6 lots. Now you're talking 1 parcel with 4 lots. Right. It is a different project.
It's a separation.
So bring it back to us with a sketch plan. We'll probably slam dunk that sketch plan and go right into preliminary plan that night, so you won't lose time.
Okay.
A lot of it is our own in-house cleaning is what we've got to do with the procedure process.
Okay. I'm still not clear on the sidewalk issue.
Can anybody make it this Saturday?
I can make it.
I can make it.
I can make it really early, but
They have to be real early.
I know it's
how early is it?
But I already know what's going on out there, so I'm good.
It has to be light.
6, I can be there at 6.
I get it 9 o'clock, so.
6
is light.
in the morning?
I
don't mind giving my time, but I'm not 6
4:18 is sunset today. So
well, I'll tell you, 6 o'clock in the morning, depending on the overcast, can still be dark.
Yeah.
So I think 7.
Close to 6:30.
I'll do 7.
Yeah.
Andy, too early for you? Well, what about Fran,
No,
too?
7 is fine. I'll get up early
You'll do it?
and meet you up here.
So we can have at least 3 or 4 people there at 7. Gee,
I don't get up for people that love it.
All right, so we'll schedule a site walk for this Saturday, the 22nd, at 0700.
Okay. And then when would the next plan, is that something you're gonna
I'd have
decide
to
later?
refer to our schedule here.
Yeah, that's coming up probably next, seeing where we're on board.
Yeah, we haven't worked it out yet.
Again, I don't think you can pick a date until you have a guarantee that you know the outcome of the land trust decision
actual
with the
plan.
applicant. I would suggest to the board that you schedule this after you have a decision made by the trust. The trust will then affect what the line configurations are on the plan. There's no way you can approve a preliminary plan until you know if there's a parcel being subdivided out of it.
And part of this, Tom, is we've seen history of this before in the town, where we don't get responded to. Just like the applicant tonight, she's finding out the day she walks into the meeting that I might have struck a deal.
Fran, did they tell you when the decision would be made?
I have no information.
Okay.
She found out tonight.
Other than Neil Haskell and Scott Carpenter are the two representatives of the state. They received a call late this afternoon, and they're going to reconsider, okay?
Town of
Which
Waterboro does
is
this all the
just gonna,
time. Fire chief will give you a letter the day you're going to a meeting, right before, an hour before. You'll come to the meeting, you'll see the letter for the first time. This happens in Waterboro all the time.
So now
the applicant gets no consideration. So I would say that if the land trust wants to do something, they ought to get it done.
Well, in fairness to the applicant, because I think we always have to go back to our fairness doctrine, that we're here to serve the public, and in fairness to Fran and her applicant, maybe we should ask the land trust to become before, as a public group, nonprofit public group, before the planning board and express their intentions. And even better, brings Scott here so that everybody's on the same page and we know what's happening with that. Once you know, Fran, that deal is going to be consummated, assuming it's going to be consummated, then you'll know how to configure that interior lot line. Once you get that done, then we'll be able to proceed on the same night with a sketch plan and a preliminary. I can't do the checklist for you until I know the answer to that question.
Yeah.
There's still some things that are on the checklist that need to be done. I'm sure Fran can work those details out because they're relatively minor. For example, we need a description of those easements. Why do we need a description of those easements? Because it's a 30-foot easement that straddles the property line on the side property. So you've got 15 on one person's property and 15 on the other. There may become some issues with maintenance. Who's responsible for maintenance? Does everybody take care of each 15 feet?
There's some big pieces missing.
There's some missing pieces to the puzzle.
Try to move ahead.
There's, in terms of the easement, a big aspect of that was handled in the note on the plan, in terms of it remaining a natural, remaining in its natural state. But again, I'll just have to.
If the town has an easement, they ought to take care of it.
So, as far as our next appointment goes, it's pending information from the land trust.
We're still doing the sidewalk.
We'll still do the sidewalk on Saturday.
But no, Tom's saying, we don't know where the back line is.
We shouldn't.
We shouldn't do the sidewalk?
Well, we're coming into winter, and pretty soon it's going to run the same situation we did last winter.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. If we don't get out too soon.
Snow. I would say out of courtesy to the applicant to look at it. Do you have an approximation where the cutoff is? It's going to be that 500-foot mark?
Approximately.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at least you get a bearing point. Is that flagged out at the 500-footer?
They're all flagged out back to what would have been the angle points. Yeah.
Okay. So
Yes.
you've got the angle points. You've got
You
the
get the lay
depth
of the land.
of the anticipated break-off. Anticipated.
Is
At least
this a
you can-
swamp walk?
This is you can get.
No.
No, it's before it's
No,
not.
it's not.
So
It's
at
not.
least this week you can get the site walk done. In addition to that, Fran, so you have some takeaways tonight. We can distribute the stormwater management plan, which is done, so that you can take a first glance look at it in anticipation of the preliminary plan coming. Okay, and if you see anything in it that needs remedying, we can take care of it. That will go out to you. I'll give it to Tammy tonight. And at the same time, has Doug seen the management plan?
Oh, they don't kind of want to hear this.
Okay.
We actually met with him, the engineer, myself, Gary Lamb was there for a few minutes, and Tammy, to review the results. And that was another question, is I don't know whether you want something in writing from him.
What was the outcome?
Well, I don't want to speak for him, but I think he supported it, don't you, Tammy?
As long as there was easement in it.
As long as there were yeah.
It needs to be in writing. I think if you all don't start getting better paper trails,
If I think is not
That-
good enough.
Call me.
if you don't start getting better paper trails, and I guess I'm going to have to be the one that's outspoken on this,
That's how we feel.
when the Tom Urshas and other people of this town are long gone, and you are long gone, and the next board's going to have to go through files for whatever reason, and there's no paper trail,
Like
everybody's going to be
detective
scratching their
work.
head. What happened here? So let's document it and make everybody feel good. So the outcome of that meeting, Fran, I'm just suggesting this to the board. Let the board tell you what they want to do with it. There needs to be a letter that the DPW director is okay with this, or he's not. If he's okay with it, then that's one step further.
Well, does he have an administrative assistant that?
I have no idea. That's not
I mean,
my.
I mean, not that it's
my
my business,
responsibility.
but,
I think it's something he'd have to do personally, just a quick note, just pass it on to us.
So let's move this forward. Fran and her applicant have spent the time and money to do this stormwater management plan. Let's get it circulated tomorrow. Tammy?
Yeah, I have the electronic copy already. The
well,
electronic
there's
version.
10 copies in those, there's copies.
More in the,
Yes.
Okay, so we have hard copies and digital copies. Tammy's going to send those off to you tomorrow. You have those in your file. Start looking at those. Pick a site walk. At least we're two small steps forward, Fran.
Okay. So I'll just sit and wait to hear when the next meeting is, to see if I have
I will
a
definitely
prayer
be in
of getting
touch
a
with
new
you.
application in.
I
Yeah.
think she wants to know before she leaves.
I'll sit and wait.
Thanks. Next order of business is, actually, why don't we move that up and talk about our next meetings? Normally, it would be the 3rd and the 24th. You want to meet
no,
on
the
Christmas
3rd and the
Eve?
17th.
Oh, 3rd and the 17th.
Yeah.
Is there a reason why we shouldn't just keep our regular schedule? Or?
Yeah, that's
Fine with me,
that's as good as you get in December.
not that close to Christmas. I don't see a problem with it.
How about the staff? Did anybody have an issue with that?
I can be here on the 3rd, probably not on the 17th.
Tammy?
I'm locked in. Either way you go, so not a problem.
All right, so we'll be meeting on the 3rd and the 17th of December. Be our regular schedule. How does that affect Fran?
Well, I'll just withdraw my letter for meeting on the 3rd, because I can't meet the 2-week deadline. So what we'll try to do is
Is the
keep the 2-week
17th?
deadline for the 17th.
Shoot for the
And
17th?
something else to look forward to, if Fran's the only one on the agenda for the 17th, she'll have your full undivided attention. Nothing
Yeah.
else will be clouding
We
anything.
can make it a short meeting.
Right,
Maybe.
should be the first one on the agenda.
Yeah, she should be after tonight.
So that's what we'll shoot for.
It's at 17th. And
Is
you'll
to
be,
get everything worked out in the next 2 weeks.
and you'll be the
Tom.
first on the agenda.
We will have a
Could you-
letter
I mean-
from the Public Works Director on stormwater management. Yay or nay? Okay.
Kurt?
Could we just make sure that on the 17th, that basically the Carpenter States have like 2 appointments, so we can do sketch plan and preliminary? You know, so we don't get 9 applicants also.
At
That
that, I can take and limit, based on the guidance from the planning board, I can limit the next people coming in. If somebody walks in tomorrow and wants to be on for the 17th, I do have the ability to say, I'm sorry, you can't be there, you need to go to January.
Because I've asked Tammy to limit the
Yeah.
208 stuff.
To 2.
To two,
Yeah, 2 per meeting, because we get
two
them
new
flooded.
ones per meeting, right.
I'm just thinking, this is, you guys have been around for a while on
Yeah, a
it,
long
but
time.
I think we need to give the time to get it done.
Absolutely.
Get it done right.
I appreciate that.
Additionally, you may want to schedule on that meeting any remaining waivers so that the board can vote on those, because they have to be voted on individually.
Yep.
And I would tell the applicant, if you're having trouble getting it definite from the land trust or whatever, talk to Gary or talk to Tom, because it does have to be resolved if you're going that route.
Well, I think I need to talk to Gary anyway about
Yeah,
the easements.
and it can drag on.
Memo to shoot.
It can drag on, and you've been going through this process for quite a while, so if you can try to get some clarity from that, what direction you're gonna go.
If the planning board hasn't, if the land trust hasn't decided prior to, 2 weeks prior to the 17th, do you still want to see this
I've been hearing
application?
talk of this for months and months and months, so I would think that we should be close to some kind of agreement on that.
Does the board want to invite the land trust as part of that conversation?
I guess if they haven't made a decision, yes.
Yes,
If
that's
they-
what I would say, only if they haven't made a decision yet.
But if they've made a decision, we don't need to.
In writing.
I think a notification to the land trust that this is imminent, that this has to be decided before such a date.
I think it's a good point.
Does anybody know what the land trust wants to do with it?
Who's got the authority to mandate a date, this Board of Selectmen? I mean, I think somebody should
I don't
say.
think anybody can.
I think you have to
They have to make a
stand and state
decision
your
by-
name before you get from the
Yeah.
audience.
Please identify
I'm sorry.
yourself.
I think they're independent.
I'm Dwayne Prescott, I'm a voter for the Carpenter property.
Future
And
state
I think it's a good
representative.
suggestion, Mr. Woodson said that let's get it out to the land trust, but I think somebody who's got the authority to say, we need a decision by this date, should send that message out.
I think that's what would be done. yes.
All right, thank you, Julie. So we're all set?
Yes,
as far
thank
as
you
you're
so much.
concerned?
I
Okay.
appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, thanks for hanging around.
Thank you.
So dropping back, we have the minutes of November 5th, which was a pretty busy night. That was the night that Dollar General was approved.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Motion and second. Anyone, any discussion? All in favor? It's unanimous, approved. Now, do we need to vote on the change of zone request form? Vote to accept that. Also, Tammy's had some communication from Natalie about having a separate fee schedule. I thought maybe we could kind of tie those two things together and start looking at. Natalie gave us a procedure where we start to separate out our fees and add language that says where the fee is in our ordinance, that this, see the fee schedule mandated by, maintained by the selectmen. What do you think of that, Tom? To tie those two together?
It's a good idea to codify or bundle all of these so that if a new applicant or a new developer comes in and wants to see the full fee schedule, right now it's all scattered all over the place. And I think it's just a matter of public courtesy that we do that, particularly when we get these new fees.
Instead of just adding another fee, we could make it part of the same process.
Plus, the other thing too is you would have to go to a zoning ordinance
Thank
change
you.
to
I have a
change
copy
the
with
fee.
me too.
Exactly.
Have you seen that? So we vote to accept, I guess, would be the first motion. I'll make that motion that we vote to accept the change of zone request form and fee.
I'll second that motion.
Any more discussion? All in favor? It's unanimous. Now, is that something that you would do, Tom, or, I mean, I could come in and,
Well, I think we've got,
we need to
they're
pick.
scattered all over. I think most of it's harbored in the code office. And, but it might make, there may be some wisdom in having Tim and Tammy initially start talking about it. I mean, I can pull together the planning stuff that's in the separate ordinances. But I think it's good to bundle them all together so we have one fee schedule list. Does that make sense?
And that's what we want to do. And that was
Yeah.
Christina's
Sort of
idea
master
to
plan
do
of
that.
fees,
I mean, a lot of that must be on the forms themselves, I would think.
Yeah, but the thing is that it's fragmented. Like
Yeah.
today, like we were looking at the site plan review application form, the fee schedule's on the back. Some people forget to look at it on the back. And
Even if we could just start to gather that and put it on the agenda
Sure.
for the next meeting, just to talk about it.
start gathering it all up and putting the pieces together.
I think if we look at fees,
Those
we ought
fees need to look, update the fees. Change the fees?
Well, the idea is that instead of changing the ordinance, you guys will have the power, you'll have a separate fee schedule, and you'll have the authority to make changes to that schedule without going in and changing the ordinances.
I guess I would like to have the suggested change from you guys. As far as cost.
Right.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Okay.
Well, I think it's a matter of authority. That's what Natalie was saying, because we had some feedback from MMA that was pretty garbled, and Natalie straightened it out for us, and she said they didn't understand that in Waterboro, you guys have the authority to just vote and make a change like that. It doesn't have to come through us. So,
I think what Dave is saying is let us try to consolidate all the fees that are out there. And if we see some that are inconsistent or need updating, in fact, I had a conversation with the town administrator today, and the base start fee for site plan review may be undernourished.
so change it before we pass it on.
Right.
So then the planning board could recommend to the selectmen, and then the selectmen review and bless.
Yeah, I mean, there may be a cost involved we don't know about.
Yeah,
We need to get our cost.
we should update them and then send them on.
Right.
That makes sense.
There's one thing about fees that has to be clarified, or should be clarified. In the subdivision regulations, it clearly says in the language, because I had gone through this not with Tammy, but Tina, when Tina was here, and I came in to amend my plan, my subdivision plan for sprinklers. She said there was a $1,000 application for an amended subdivision plan. The ordinance clearly does not say that. It says that there's no fee for an amended subdivision plan. Town of Waterboro has typically been charging $1,000 for an amended subdivision plan. So that language ought to be clarified, and that fee ought to be, I paid the fee because everybody else previous to me had paid the $1,000 fee, but the language in the subdivision ordinance clearly says there is no fee for an amended plan, and there should be a fee, and I don't think a $1,000 fee is unreasonable for an amended subdivision plan. So I think that fee has to be looked at.
That way, at least it's documented.
That is documented, because right now it clearly says there's no fee for an amended plan, and everybody's been paying the fee.
Tim, outside of the fee schedule, I just wanted to do a refresher on conditional uses. There's some really important language in Article 4 that speaks to once there's a submitted complete application, the board only has 31 days to formalize that decision once it's completed. To this point in time, for example, the campground application is still missing a couple small pieces and one big piece, the DEP. Once those are received, and once I complete those plan notations that you've asked me to do with the applicant, and once we've received the DE opinion, and once it's scheduled, the clock starts running.
And what was the time?
31 days. If a proper decision isn't made in 31 days, by default, the application is approved.
So what's wrong with that?
Okay. Pardon me?
So what's wrong with that?
Nothing.
We should make a decision in 31 days.
It's just a refresher. Well,
It's
you
just
know,
reminding
due
us.
to circumstances, if something happened that evening that there was still a missing piece that was a discovery that you made, know that you have to, within 31 days, make that decision, or it's automatically approved.
So it's 31 days from the time that a completed plan is submitted.
Yeah,
So if he came in, if any applicant came in and the plan by the board was not deemed complete, so only if the board deems the plan complete would the 31 days start.
correct. My intention is not to submit this plan back to you, and hopefully the applicant won't try to put it on until it's completed. So I would suggest to the board that that you offer a mandate to Tammy and myself that we don't place it on the agenda until it is
What is
complete.
not completed on the plan?
Well, from my perspective, the plan notations, we've been back and forth on them. They're still not at the point of clarity that satisfies me in order to recommend it back to you. Additionally, the MDEP permit looks as though it looks very unlikely that it's going to be received. It may not even be received in December. Okay.
Well, that's the pivot point. I mean, that's the most
So
important
that,
thing.
exactly. So I would like the board's permission not to have
So
this.
what happens if you can't ever come to terms on the language?
We will. That's the easy part. It's just that, I'm being kind of a stickler on making sure the right details are there. so that there's no misunderstandings and there's good clarity. When people read that notation, they know exactly what it means.
But-
Just like on the buffers of the trees with the abutter,
Yeah.
we were very clear what type of species, how tall, what caliper, and how many. So it's quantified and qualified at the same time.
But without approval from DEP, they will not move forward.
No, and
Period.
there's some sticky points
Yeah.
that they're trying to work out. And so I just want the board to know that my intention is not to send it back to you until we get those findings of fact in hand. That'll make your job a whole lot easier too, because we'll make that a condition of approval, whatever the conditions are of the state.
Thanks. Thanks for the update. Tammy?
You had mentioned regarding gathering all the fees together, and instead of making it the first meeting in December, can we do the second meeting?
Yes, I think that makes sense. Well, Dave's saying that we should update him too, so that's cutting a little bit close. Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
And I mean, it only needs to be a beginning. It doesn't have to be an accomplished fact.
No.
But otherwise, we'll lose track of it and it'll, fall by the wayside, so. Last item on the agenda is an email from Peter Schild. They came in and they had approval to demolish and
No, they have.
They were gonna raise up
They
that
were
camp.
gonna raise it, but they also, when they came in before the board, did not know what they were gonna find once they raised the camp up to put the basement in. They weren't sure, and I even talked to Peter today, and he said, Tammy, you would have thought it would have been an invasion of the Carpenter ants when we took out the paneling on the wall. He said it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
So the bottom line was, we told them they needed to come back with a revised plan.
Yeah, and they're working on that right now, and they're hoping to be back on the agenda for the 5th. So it would be more to approve the new submission based on your prior acceptance of the old one, knowing full well that because of the deterioration of the camp, that he wanted to make sure you all knew about it, and I said I'd be bringing it up to you.
We know about it.
So, yeah.
Dave, did you have anything you wanted to talk about, or
I know.
Gary, anything more?
I think
I don't
we
know.
all owe a big debt of gratitude to Tammy.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
What she's been doing, how she's been doing, and how little time she's had
Yeah.
here to do this.
I agree.
So,
And she was an excellent choice, and that was
Yes.
thanks to you.
yes, but thank you very much for how you do what you do.
Yes.
You've seen her, if you haven't seen her desk, go in
I
there.
saw it last night.
today.
It was buried.
That will get better.
All right.
We'll have a code officer soon.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, on October, on December 3rd, I'll be in Augusta all day, so I'm not sure what my schedule is. Probably if I'll see you guys on that evening.
We'll take it as it comes.
What's your first day?
Good luck up there.
No, it's the 3rd. Monday's the 1st.
It's orientation.
No, Wednesday the 3rd is,
They get their,
Oh, swear.
they get their pictures taken, and they
Your
find out
license
where their
plate?
desk is.
yep.
Sweet.
Have we got a second for other business?
Huh?
I got two things on the other business. One is for Dave Lowe, our IT guy, Dave.
Say hi, Dave.
Say hi, Dave.
Put the camera on
He has
yourself.
updated all the agendas and all the minutes from the planning board, I think all the way back to 1977.
No,
So now-
68.
1968. You can go on the website now and see any agenda or any minute from any planning board meeting for the last 40 years, and that's quite an accomplishment.
It's amazing.
So my hat off to you.
What?
how come Frank's not here?
My hat off to you, and I also want to give my hat off to Dave, Tammy, and Christine, and whoever else is involved. For the first time, I've been an advocate for this for a long time, and I finally saw it in the reporter. It says that you no longer have to come into town hall to review ordinance changes or anything change. You can go to www.waterboro.gov, and you can see an amendment to an ordinance or any kind of public notice that we would put in the paper. You can actually go on the website and actually see the changes that are published. So a person no longer has to drive to town hall to see that, and that is because Dave got onto it, Tammy got onto it, Christine, I think Gary had something to do with this too.
No, don't give me any credit for that.
I'm not sure, but I think that was you. But it's been done, and I think it's just a great move for the town to get up into the 21st century and put that on the website. It makes good use of our website, so that's all I want to say. Thank you all.
And just to back up a little bit on the Carpenter Estates, that thing about the spaghetti lots was Frank's idea. Everybody laughed at that at first. And the more we researched it, we found out that he was right, that they actually were spaghetti lots. So he should get credit for that. And that's it for me. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Seconded?
Second?
Second? Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you.